elderly ladies, gentlemen, elderly people, and twerkers. We're here. Um, so let's get into this, and we're going to talk about TNA Genesis 2005. That is going to be the show tonight. So TNA Genesis 2005. It got good news and got bad news. The good news is that we're here. The bad news is this may be the last time we do a watch along, as these as StreamYard has gotten a little too expensive, and it's starting really to become burdensome, and I have to start cutting things out. So StreamYard is one of the things that I'm probably gonna have to get rid of. I've already kind of disconnected it, um, but so it's gonna be difficult. It'll be difficult times, man. So we're gonna be sitting here. TNA Genesis, for those of you who don't know, is going to be on YouTube. So if you have like a cell phone or something like that, if you want to listen in, you can do that. But we're going to be watching TNA Genesis on YouTube. If you go to the Discord, if you're not in the Discord, I'm sure somebody will post a link. We already have TNA Genesis booted up for you. So all you gotta do is hit the the uh, the link so that we can watch TNA Genesis all together. Um, but like I was saying, this might be the last time. It might be the last time for a little while, not permanently, but it's maybe the last one of the year at the very least, and we might not be back until like March. But StreamYard is very expensive to run, and I only run it like twice a week, so it really is not paying for itself like other things are. But we're gonna have fun regardless. We're gonna wait till about 5 minutes after, and then we're gonna launch the event TNA Genesis 2005. Again, look it up on YouTube because that is where we will be watching it. I thought this event was on Roku, but it's not. They have Genesis 2006. So 2005 it is. It's on YouTube again. For those of you who are going to be coming in a little bit late, we're going to start the show at about 5 after. Just wanted to make that little announcement, and then we'll get started. Hopefully everybody's doing well. Hope everybody had a good week. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Clearly, we will not be doing anything next week because it will be Thanksgiving. It'll be the holiday. And unless something really happens at the last minute, I don't see a need to uh, to do anything on Thanksgiving because of the holiday. Will I be back on Saturday? Probably not. Again, we're doing the JCW Lunacy show, and then when I get then the next day, I may just be watching AEW Full Gear for most of that day. So we might not be back this weekend. It all depends on whether I watch Full Gear in the morning or in the afternoon. But if not, then I'll just do like a video for Monday or something like that. It might not be a live stream, but it might be like uh, a pop culture show, culture politics show for Monday. But we will not stop doing the pop culture and politics shows. I may just move them to videos in order to cover up the fact that I'm not doing live streams for a while. But we got another minute or so, and then we're going to get started at TNA Genesis. Again, it's going to be on YouTube. Please put it in the search bar. It should come right up. TNA Genesis, as far as I know, is 3 hours. It's 2 hours and 55 minutes. So that ought to be fun and fill up the rest of our evening. Everybody who's listening, thank you guys for stopping by. If you're listening a little bit later, I appreciate that too. Um, so let's get started in about 15 seconds. We'll be getting started. Um, how you doing, Top Dog? 305 Johnny, WG Phil. How you guys doing? Glad to see you folks coming out. We're gonna have some fun. We're still gonna do watch alongs, except for I'm probably just gonna do the event myself. and post it online like I did before we made it live. But it's less fun live, admittedly. All right, let's get started. I actually talked over the time, so let's get it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's get started with TNA Genesis 2005. Hopefully it doesn't go to commercial immediately, and it did. God damn. Thanks a whole lot. Thanks a whole lot, TNA, for going to commercial immediately. That's the one thing about watching stuff on YouTube is the damn commercials. They have almost their entire library up on YouTube, but these damn commercials are a pain in the ass, especially when they have two back to back like they got now. Okay, let's get into it. In memory of Eddie Guerrero. Nice. I didn't know that. I like that. Very classy by TNA. A moment of silence as well. This is still the 20-year anniversary. This is also the 20-year anniversary of this event. The new face of professional wrestling. WG Phil says he thinks Eddie Guerrero may pass the same week as this show. That would be something.
We ask God's blessing on the most hazardous and dangerous and greatest adventure on which man has ever embarked. Genesis. On this day,
I'm very confused by John F. Kennedy has to do with this and Bill Clinton.
In massive numbers, the American people have voted to make a new beginning.
Okay, a new beginning.
A world refreshed by freedom seemed reborn. Let the word go forth from this time and place to friend and foe alike, that the torch has been passed to a new generation of Americans. This is preeminently the time to speak the truth, the whole truth, frankly and boldly.
All right.
We cannot forget today that we are the heirs of that first revolution. The day of the dictator is over. This is not the end, but it is perhaps the end of the beginning.
Okay. I dig that. The boy Monty Brown. We turned it down a little bit. Monty Brown's in this joint. I forgot he even worked there, even though he's in the thumbnail. I do like the theme of the opening package, though. A new beginning. Obviously, it's a challenge to the WWE. The era of the dictator is over. That's clearly what they're trying to do here. But we were very, very deep into Jeff Jarrett at this point. And he was smothering this poor company to death. Just imagine how great TNA would have been if they'd have moved on from Jeff Jarrett sooner. But they're trying to make this whole thing about, making history. Oh, wait, I got this on DVD, don't I? I think I got this event on DVD. No, I got 2006 on DVD because I got the Angle Samoa Joe match. I'm not sure. Matter of fact, I think I might have this on DVD. I don't have a lot of TNA DVDs. I think I only got like 2 or 3. So I'm not sure which one it is. Damn, I haven't even seen my DVDs in a while. They're in the basement. I think I might have this on DVD already. But I'm almost certain, too, that it's Genesis 2006. I like the opening. The opening was great. Gave us a taste of what they were going to see and this new generation of pro wrestling, and I like it. I wish more wrestling shows would actually set a standard, or try to get you hyped for the show when the show starts, instead of just overhead shots of the city and people walking into the building holding coffee cups. That was trash. Let me tell you that much. That's an ungodly amount of pyro there, TNA. What's the budget like? Almost enough to get Cody Rhodes, I'm sure. All right, what's this? Raven starting the show. Has anybody seen Raven's documentary yet? I heard that it was pretty good. I'm gonna try to watch it this weekend. I'm pretty sure my dad has Amazon Prime Video or something like that. Maybe I'll borrow his and see what up with it. Yes, I think so. I think he does. We'll see. Look at Larry Zbyszko. He looks sleepy. No, it's not on Tubi yet. I think it's on Amazon Prime. It may end up on Tubi sooner rather than later. Pretty much everything ends up on Tubi eventually. 99 before the head kick. Oof. Peak Bret Hart, 94 probably. I appreciate the crease in Larry Zbyszko's pants. Much respect. His wife probably did a very good job. God damn, it went to commercial. Ugh. Next time, we're not doing anything that's on YouTube. Well, I don't know when next time will be, but shit. Nothing that's on YouTube because YouTube has too many commercials. And this thing is 3 hours. And once you have all these commercials, it's going to be a good 3.5 hours or something like that. Oh, he gave him the finger.
That's pretty loud and clear without saying anything. Not much respect for the championship committee.
Oh, I was just about to ask, what the hell is Larry Zbyszko? But he's the championship committee.
Or you go through hell. Talk to me like a man, Raven. Or maybe what I hear is true. You got some girlfriend running your life now.
Oh shit. Why is Raven wearing a skirt though? What's up with that? Why is Raven wearing a skirt? I never understood that.
Who is it, JB?
Oh, it's Canyon. Oh no, it's not. It's just incredible. I thought it was somebody from Raven's past. What the fuck? They worked in ECW together, but I don't think they were friends or anything, were they? Oh my god. Raven is in a dress. This scammer, PJ Polacco, absolute scam guy. I couldn't even follow the most recent scam where he claimed he had like he was in the hospital or something like that and he needed a GoFundMe, but it's clearly like a hotel room. What an asshole. I didn't even bother to do a video on it because I didn't want to talk about this guy. He's pointless. He's worthless. Well, Triple H made me stop watching WWE, so it takes a whole lot to get me to stop watching WWE, and Triple H successfully did it. I don't like Planet Jarrett, but Triple H successfully ran me off the business. Why Tony? Because WWE for starters has business with Tubi. You would think that he would do something with like Pluto TV or Roku or something. Even though NWA is on Roku, it would be nice for them to do something there or some other streaming service with Ring of Honor, especially the library, the archive content. Or they should put the archive content online. If WWE is putting archive content online, then maybe Ring of Honor should as well. Top Dog says, speaking of 94, I actually watched a lot of stuff from the New Generation era and it honestly has a good charm to it. That's what I like. Like, it wasn't great, but I grew up on it. There's some elements to it that I really like. I really do. I really do like the new generation era a lot more than most people. The reason for the skirt is the golf gimmick. I guess you mean goth. That's what you said the first time. But why would he? Why would I never seen any goth people wear a dress? I was listening to rock music at this time, and nobody ever wore a dress. God damn! It went to commercial again. Oh no, it didn't. Okay, good. Triple H didn't put anybody over. Didn't drop the belt. Didn't Jeff drop the belt a bunch, but kept winning it back. Yeah, that was kind of how Planet Jarrett worked. Is that he would lose the belt and then he'd win it back like 2 weeks later, a month later. He would do business just long enough for to let the heat die down and then he'd win the title back. Triple H was just holding on to that joint with like grim death. I can't believe people actually think Justin Credible was a good wrestler, for real. He's as generic as it gets. He was more interesting as the Portuguese man of war. Oh, Lord have mercy. Top Dog says the new generation era did certain things better than the Attitude Era, but no one wants to admit it. I think most people don't even watch it. They haven't watched enough of it. Well, they just remember kind of the silly gimmicks, like the baseball guy and stuff like that. They remember that kind of shit. They don't actually pay attention to a lot of the other stuff that they were doing. But since I didn't have cable at the time, I was watching a whole lot of episodes of Superstars, and there was a whole lot of those guys, the Godwins and stuff. There was like way too much of that stuff. Even though I don't think Henry Godwin came in until '95, but you know what I mean. Isaac Yankum and a lot of that stuff, Doink. But it was still a charming product. They were trying their best, man. They had a limited roster. That was the one time when they started losing money, just because of those lawsuits and everything. They needed some time to get their groove back. Who the hell is Cassidy Riley? And this guy sacrificed himself for Raven? What's that about? Who's this guy? Thanks for telling me who he is. Triple H only wanted to work with his inner circle and drop the belt to them. Vince made him drop the belt to Chris Benoit and Batista. Well, Batista is Triple H's inner circle. That's his buddy. They always been homies. Even to this day, actually. The new generation era still had managers, proper faces, and heels, and better psychological than I feel lost in the Attitude Era. Yeah, I like the $1 Million Corporation. I wish they were built better because they lost all the time, so it really didn't help. But if they'd have put some effort into like Bam Bam Bigelow, it would have been great. The 1-2-3 Kid, if he was allowed to win sometimes, but those guys have lost almost all the time. Raven using an ankle lock. Get out of here with this. This is Fat Raven too. But we're seeing Raven do bumps, which is rare because he was not a big bumping guy. At this part of his life too, he thought he was a big shot, so he wasn't trying to take bumps. Wow, that came out of nowhere. I mean, you put him in there with the Portuguese man of war, Larry Zbyszko. Did you think he was going to make him suffer? Just because he got a goofy chest tattoo don't mean he fell off that damn hard. I remember they did this before. They had him wrestle somebody from his past, and it was Canyon. I don't know what event that was, though. And Canyon actually was Raven's friend, so that I understood. But I don't know about Justin Credible. I don't remember them being friends. Ugh, commercials. Well, it says also feel the same way from the PG era, the 08 to 2010. It was family friendly, but you still had Cena, Batista, Orton, Edge, Jericho, Taker, HBK. Yeah, I mean, I didn't. There were certain elements of it I didn't like, but then there was elements of it I did. And I just felt like part of that 08 to 2012 stuff, a lot of it got weird because it was very homogenous and it felt like it was the same people wrestling each other 100 times over. Like that was not fun. But other than that, I don't remember hating that era too much. This was my least favorite stuff that TNA did was the Team Canada stuff because it's full of bums and the old uh, 3 Live crew. Look how Jack Conan used to be compared to now. And Conan was a kind of out of over the hill at this point in 2005. Kip James. I can't believe this man's name is Kip. That seems like a rib. What up, Kev? How you doing, brother? You see, this is a storyline, brother. They actually, building off something. I don't understand why it involves Team Canada, and I wish it didn't, but it's actually a storyline. This is around the time Conan was about to bring in the LAX, right? I can't believe this dude's a backstage interviewer. Shane Douglas should have been wrestling. I mean, not like he was like the best ever or anything like that, but I'm surprised he's not wrestling at this show. Look at Conan's earrings, man. What's up with that? He got like 20 pounds dangling from his ears. That's like some Rhea Ripley shit. That's his real name. I know that's his real name. The point here is that it's a terrible name to give a man. His parents obviously pulled a rib on him and named him Kip. Wait, this a hockey stick match? And he's the special guest referee. Kip. Kip. Oh no. Oh no. Look at the state of this guy. He doesn't look that much older today, to be quite honest. Oh, Kip. He's like 70 now, almost. This is a very small arena. Like the TNA, what was this, the Impact Zone? I know it's different from the Asylum. It looks very small. His name is Monty Snoop. Who the hell is that? Who is Monty Snoop? Monty Brown? Team Canada is one of the worst gimmicks of all time. Nobody cares about Canadians enough to hate them. A1 is muscular, big for nothing. Absolutely massive for no good reason. Eric Young sucks. I like Bobby Roode, but I don't like this Team Canada stuff. This Team Canada shit is bad. Especially since Scott, boy, I'm gonna try to be nice to Scott D'Amore. I'm not gonna offend Scott D'Amore today. Look at that wildebeest right there with the red hair. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy, Jesus. She built like a pack of ramen noodles. Look at this lady. Why is R-Truth doing that with his body? I didn't see the need for any of that. I didn't see her need to do any of that stuff he just did. I appreciate the Burger King Kids Club nature of the 3 Live crew, where you got the white guy and the Mexican and the black guy. I love it. Very Power Rangers of you. Except everybody is a goddamn stereotype. Everybody's a stereotype in that game. What a gimmick. Remember, Conan said they made him do this, even though it's the same gimmick he was doing in WCW. Eddie, Eddie, Eddie. Yay. Hmm. He was a nostalgic at this point, homie. Lord of mercy. Bomba clock. What on earth? Look at how yoked Conan is, and he's sagging. Now you know why his liver and shit don't work. I'm surprised Billy's liver ain't giving out at this point. my dislike of Road Dogg's booking is actually becoming retroactive to the point where I don't like Road Dogg at all. It's sad, dog. When his writing of SmackDown was so bad that it's actually retroactively making me not like him. That is dork. It says Billy Gunn having to be normal white with a wigger and a YN in his 30s and a Cuban. Yeah, he has to be. He's pulling a Shawn Michaels. This is exactly what Shawn Michaels did. The tied up front thing with the short shorts. They was being very cute in TNA, the both of them. He took a shot at Vince McMahon in his promo too, talking about the ship was sinking. I don't know why anybody would think that. 2005, they probably made a whole lot of money off that shit. Things didn't get bad until 06 anyway, when Benoit did that bullshit. Then everybody was like, "Holy boy, what's going on here?" He said, "Did ever explain what Road Dogg gimmick was?" He's kind of a redneck with a little bit of a rapper dash to it. That was kind of the gimmick. Like a part of it leaned more into his real life, because you see like the army fatigue but the trucker hat and all that kind of stuff was kind of a dead giveaway to what his gimmick is. Even though he's still kind of Road Dogg in this situation. He's still kind of Road Dogg. Truth is wearing the camouflage too, but his pants sagging. So, and he was doing that dance. I don't know what the fuck he was dancing for. I couldn't even hear the music. Why is the hockey stick so deep into the pole? Why are there hockey sticks? This got to be like a Vince Russo idea. I'm not sure. Yeah, Vince Russo might have still been around at this point in time. That's a decent punch by Robert Roode. I hate that he decided to wait till like 38 to come to WWE. If he'd came in a little bit earlier, he might have been something. It's amazing how much time guys wasted in TNA. I'm not saying like it was a bad thing, because it was actually pretty good for TNA to have their own talent. But quite a few of these guys waited until they were in their mid-30s to come to WWE, and by then it was way too late. Especially if when Vince was there, he was not interested at all. You always thought Road Dogg was a wrestling version of Kid Rock. I already knew that it was like the white boy with the wrestling twin with the sort of hip hop thing. I didn't look at it like Kid Rock. I don't know. Maybe I should have. What is that? A shoe? You just hit him in the chest with a shoe. What do you do that for? I always thought Road Dogg was in a sort of a redneck gimmick. That's what I thought. It's very, very southern tinged, which would make sense considering he's from the South. They keep getting different hockey sticks, and nobody's even using the ones that are out already. Kid Cash was Kid Rock. He actually looked like Kid Rock too. I can't believe we went to commercial again. Oh my God, this is gonna be forever, bro. We're gonna be suffering because I'm not paying for YouTube TV or anything like that. We're suffering through this. These guys keep getting kendo sticks. Not kendo sticks. I'm sorry, hockey sticks, and not using them. They take one bump, the hockey stick falls out of the ring, and then it's gone. You could tell Road Dogg was on something at this point in time in his life. I mean, he's in this place doing this. Oh, this is terrible. Billy Gunn is massive too, bro. He's much bigger than Bobby. This is a rough one, doggy. There's another guy going up there to get something out of that. Like, just use the hockey sticks that are already out. Are they single-use hockey sticks that you only use it once and then that's it? Because most people just took a bump and dropped the hockey stick and then he never came back. I wonder what happened to this guy. Like, he was there for a long time and then he just suddenly wasn't. And he didn't go anywhere else. You said all this was, and this was also NWA TNA at the time. Yeah, this was they're still using the NWA World Championship. They didn't stop using it, I think, until 07. I think it might have been when they stopped using the NWA World title. Or was it 08? It was one of the two. I'm pretty sure Kurt Angle was officially the first TNA World Champion. I don't remember when that was. I don't know TNA history that well. I know enough, but I don't know like a whole lot. Look, now he just dropped his stick. He went up there to get the stick, got hit once, dropped it, and now we got it. All the fucking sticks are on the floor. All the sticks are on the floor. And why is there rules? Like, why they gotta make tags? Weapons are illegal, but you got to make tags. If AJ Styles went to WWE in the late 2000s, how successful do you see him being? Oh, well, he's one of the guys where I think he came in at the right time. I think if AJ Styles would have came in, let's say 2006 or something like that, he probably would have been run out of the company by 2009. Or he'd ended up like CM Punk and Bryan Danielson and the rest of those guys, where he'd have been one of those dudes they use sometimes, but they won't give him the ball. But AJ doesn't have the charisma and the talking ability of Punk, nor does he have the charm of Bryan Danielson, the love of the game of Bryan Danielson. I don't think it would have worked for AJ. But a lot of these other guys who left, well, I don't think it would have worked at all for Eric Young because he fucking sucks. But Bobby Roode definitely came in at the wrong time. James Storm came in at the wrong time too. Very unfortunate for him. There was somebody else I was thinking of, Chris Harris. You know, like he decided to get out of shape and come to WWE, and he was always the better of the two. Chris Harris was the one that they tried to push in TNA as a singles act, and then he came to WWE fat and dumpy, and just one look at that, and they were like, "Yeah, we're done with you, buddy." I miss those days of you show up in WWE out of shape or something like that, and they you pass the can, just send you home and don't even be concerned with it. Like he didn't even get a second week, I don't think. I think they showed up one time out of shape and fat, and they was like, you know what, it's over. It was so bad they pulled the plug immediately. Why is he rolling? Oh shit. Ugh. I feel like we just came back from commercial. God's sake. Frankie Kazarian had a short run in WWE in their dark matches, and they wanted him to cut his hair. So he went back to TNA, and now he's world champion. Ain't it ironic? He worked the B shows as well. He was on like Velocity and stuff all the time. And I remember that because I remember reading on the dirt sheets that they wanted him to cut his hair. He was going to bring him up to Smackdown or something like that at the time, and he refused. Like that was stupid because he ended up cutting his hair just a few years later anyway. Oh, now everybody's got a hockey stick. Okay, it took us forever to get here. So also, speaking of Punk, I was watching your video of Roman and Punk earlier, and I agreed that WWE gave a lot to CM Punk to get him over. Yeah, they run these gimmicks like they didn't want him and Danielson to get over, but they gave them all opportunities in the world to get over. I think people just kind of ignore, unless you're the world champion in a top storyline, they kind of ignore the fact that guys like Danielson was continued to be used even when he wasn't over. Like they kept featuring him and kept giving him opportunities even when he wasn't over. Like they kept Punk on TV even when he was being a fuck around, and they kept using him, and they kept putting titles on him. Like when he was the Intercontinental Champion, he's a Tag Team Champion. They kept doing stuff with him. So he had all the chances in the world to be successful. He was in his own way. A lot of these guys were, you know. Oh, not Kip and Conan are on good terms. Oh, look at that. This is going to be hot. That Sabu Abyss barbed wire thing is going to be crazy. I'm surprised they never brought James Mitchell into WWE. He was a good manager. He's very cartoonish too, which I'm pretty sure Vince would have loved.
stipulation added in order to take full advantage of the fact that you have somehow miraculously
Just think about how James Mitchell would have worked with Kane. That would have been great.
That Abyss fears. The one thing which is to Abyss what kryptonite is to barbed wire. You could begin to understand what the sound of the word barbed wire does to Abyss. You could possibly fathom how much torment and anguish the sight of barbed wire brought to
He didn't react. He botched it.
months of therapy, I had nearly cured his barbed wire phobia. And then you had to bring barbed wire into the ring. You just had to pick that ugly, festering, pus-ridden scab of it. Well, upon further reflection, I'm glad you did, because you have sealed your fate. There will be no more Sabu after tonight. You've opened Pandora's box, and from it will emerge the full, unlimited fury of Abyss. Of course, I realize trying to articulate that to someone as infantile and insane as you is an exercise in futility. So I'm picking it upon
I love this
myself
fucking guy,
to
man.
provide
He's very good. James Mitchell is very good.
Sabu
I always liked him.
is your friend. And this, Sabu, is your brain on my weapon of mass destruction, the monster Abyss.
I gotta say, that was very 1980s. I love that shit. That shit fucking ruled, bro. God damn these fucking commercials. Oh my God. Like, I need a Chat GPT commercial right now, for God's sake. Right after that hell of a great promo by James Mitchell. I needed to see the farmer's fucking guy. Get out of here. Enough's enough.
Welcome back, everyone. Universal Resorts, Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida, the site of the Genesis pay-per-view. With Mike today and Don West and Rich Ryan.
I don't remember Lance Archer being in WWE. I think he's probably on the B shows, wasn't he?
TNA management called it the biggest jump in history. We are waiting to receive word of
Brian was champion in 2011. Yeah, he was the world heavyweight champion, but they tripped because he got beat by Sheamus in like 12 seconds at WrestleMania or whatever. So that doesn't count. You know, if you ever lose, it doesn't count. You know. Damn. Now we probably finally get to the good part of the show. They're talking about matches I actually do want to see now. Even though I remember these matches. I don't remember if I had this on DVD or not, though. I'm tripping. Top Dog says, I think if AJ Styles came in around 2012, he could have probably got over due to most of the stars like Jericho, Taker, Edge, etc. leaving or going part-time. He would have given more opportunities, I think. But I don't know if it would have worked. He was still kind of small at the time. And you know what? I think didn't they have Evan Bourne on the roster? He probably would have been in a tag team with that fucking guy. They probably would have put him in a tag team with him. What's happening? What's going on now? What's up with those pants? What's this about? Oh, yeah, it's Christian. It's his debut, huh? It's Christian's debut. I didn't know he debuted on this show. To what end, though? Yeah, that's very good reaction. Look at these lights. My goodness. Christian, he absolutely needed to get out of WWE, man. They were kicking him in his ass. He got super over and then got powerbombed by Batista, and that was kind of it for him. And then I thought, okay, he's gonna go from Raw to SmackDown. He's gonna get a chance on SmackDown. Powerbomb like first night, and that was it. I was like, God damn, it's over for the dude. Like I understand not putting him over on Raw because Cena was on Raw, but he didn't even get a chance on SmackDown. I'm like, bro, it's over. He was cooked. He had to get out of there. Very smart decision making by Christian. Bad decision was to go back. That was a bad mistake. That was a mistake. I shouldn't have went back so early. Vince did not watch anything he did in TNA. Didn't give a shit. They instantaneously threw him on ECW. They fucked him up good. He taught his ass a lesson. Even though he was put on ECW to be the centerpiece of the show, still. He went back too soon. He should have went back at like 2012 or something. Yeah, why?
Well, I'll tell you this much. I didn't come here to see the same guy.
I like how they got the reactions to Jeff Jarrett and Monty Brown. That was very good. Nobody does that anymore.
I didn't come here to see a grown man dressed up like a doctor pulling things out of another man's back. And you can be damn sure I didn't come here because I got fired. Which brings me to another rumor that I want to address with you bit right now. The rumor that I got football in a
God damn it! It went to commercial in the middle of the fucking promo. God damn, what the that's fucking YouTube, man. It's a disaster. Who is this bitch? I'm sorry, my language.
That's not true at all. Actually, I was offered a very hefty sum to stay exactly where I was. But the reason that I came to TNA is the same reason that each and every one of you is in this arena right now. The same reason that everybody's watching Genesis live on pay-per-view. And that reason is that I love wrestling. You come to the right place.
Look at how long we've been doing this shit. Over 20 years of this. I love wrestling. I love TNA. Vince Spears TNA.
I've been known to crack a joke or two.
What a joke.
Say
That was a
something
joke.
sarcastic. Pull a rib.
What was that?
But I don't want anybody to ever forget the fact that I am without a doubt the greatest all-around performer in this sport today.
Yeah.
It's like this. I'm tired of egos and politics. I want to see guys in this ring busting their asses. I want to see wrestling reinvented. Like last night, I turned on Spike TV and I'm watching Impact. Little plug for you. And reminded me of when I broke onto the national wrestling scene 8 years ago. There were two companies. One was old, stale, and lacking direction. The other one I was a part of, it was young, hungry, and cutting edge. Fast forward 8 years to this very moment, and there's still two companies. One is old, boring, and lacking direction. And the other one is
TNA took shots at WWE all this year, the whole year. They were taking shots at him in January, right after Elimination Chamber. They tried their best, man. When they finally got on Spike, they tried their best. It didn't work. It didn't work at all, but they tried, dog.
Two things to say to you. One, you should never wear white pants after Labor Day. And two, I've come to TNA to take the one thing that's eluded me my entire career. The one thing we both can agree on is the most important and prized possession in this sport, the NWA World Heavyweight Championship. That's his goal. So I want everybody right now to stand up and take notice that Christian Cage is here. And Christian Cage will fulfill his destiny because that's how I rule.
Oh, Lord. It was a good promo, though. He's always a good promo. It was kind of generic, though. Well, I mean, I guess if you hear enough of those, WWE sucks, TNA, Ring of Honor, AEW was great promos. They all kind of run together. And they buried them immediately, having them involved with this tubby mayonnaise Canadian. I hate this guy. He sucks so bad. I don't know. Oh, my God. I bet he has. You know, Christian is just his type. Might need a little bit more makeup, but he's just got the Morris type. Male. I shouldn't say stuff like that. Christian was probably more his type a couple of years prior when he had a longer hair. Well, I gotta stop saying that stuff, man. I gotta stop saying that stuff. That's all I can think of when I see this chubby. Sorry. What about Calgary? What about that time? What's this about stretching asses? Scott D'Amore is talking about stretching people's asses, y'all. That's not a good idea. Maybe we should change the topic of discussion. Maybe we should change the topic of discussion. Maybe that shouldn't be a topic of discussion. Lord have mercy. Oh.
I heard what you said about Jeff Jarrett and the world's heavyweight title. And hey, everybody wants to be world champion.
Yeah.
It's every boy's dream. But I know if there's one person in this business that I don't have to explain how crucial it is to align yourself with the right people politically, that person is you. You see that we're in the midst of a shift in the balance of power. Whether you will walk out of this ring tonight with the F title, the American Most Wanted tag title, that's the crown jewel of them all. Jeff Jarrett World Heavyweight Championship. And with you, Christian Cage, are in the fall, we will rule this place together.
They have a history. If I was Christian, I never want to admit that I knew this goober.
pretty good, but let me ask you a question. Whoa. I'll be rude. There's no question. Do you not understand what Coach Moore?
No comment, King Travis. No comment.
That's knocking on your door right now.
No comment.
You have an opportunity to.
But I like Bobby Roode, and he's in this position right now. It's really cool.
That me and the rest of the boys have been busting our ass for the last 3 damn years.
Yeah, they're doing a whole lot of that, ain't they?
So it's quite simple, Captain Charisma. That's his nickname. You're either with us or you're against us.
He is in no position. He just lost a 6-man tag. Why is he even out here?
The words that are coming out of my mouth.
Well, y'all both speak English.
Right now. Oh, Bobby Roode, Christian Kate nose to nose. Check out the work. Try to over it out. Hey, Bobby, zip it. We don't need an answer right now, Christian. We got a little time.
He good cop, bad cop, and Christian though. They really trying to play games. And Christian is dressed like every white guy I've seen in like the early 2000s. He might be the only person ever to have a Team Canada t-shirt. I don't think I've ever seen another human being in the same vicinity as a Team Canada t-shirt.
It looks like it's the right size. But it's going to take me time to think it's the right fit. Oh. The more that we want your answer, we want your decision by the end of the night.
What? I appreciate that they brought him in and they immediately did an angle. I just don't like that the angle they did was with Team Canada, because Team Canada fucking sucks. They suck so bad. They're such mid-card jabronis, for God's sake. They're no good. No good at all. Why AEW trying to be FMW? They're trying to be everything. They're trying to be everything to everybody. It's not going to work. Was my favorite year in 80s pro wrestling? Oh, shit. That's a good question. I had to put some thought into it. '86 was pretty good because WWF was pretty good at the time, and Mid-South was pretty good at the time, and so was well, Mid-South was okay in '86, and I think that's where they were doing the conversion of the Von Erich territory. I think that's when they separated from the NWA. It was 86, I think. I'm not sure. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I think 86 is when they started separating from the NWA. I think. I think that's when they decided they're going to have their own world champion and all that. And I think that's when Rick Rude became the world champion in the Von Erich's territory. But I remember enjoying all three territories, but the Von Erich territory was obviously better before '86. And so was Mid-South, was better before '86. But WWF was really good in '86. Monty Brown and Jeff Hardy, that's going to be fun. Why did Monty Brown give a fuck about that?
For months and months now, and nobody wanted to listen. Let me humbly say, as somebody who's been in this business a long time, alpha male Monty Brown, it looks like you may have this time leapfrog to the front of that pack in that world title shot. And don't let me be the last to remind you that if you would have to lose your match tonight at Genesis against Jeff Hardy, that would knock you all the way to the bottom of the rankings. Silence!
Yeah. Who the hell wants to hear Shane Douglas talk?
You got jokes, Shane? You think something's funny? This is not funny. Ooh, we got major acquisitions. We're acquiring this guy. This guy's going to be acquired. Christian Cage. You definitely reek, but it's not of awesomeness. I don't care how you roll, but you roll up to the
They decided not to make this guy the world champion, by the way. And they had every opportunity to do so.
The psychedelic psychotic. He's only going to get one thing, just like Christian Cage is going to get. But the alpha male will not be denied. I will not be stopped. Christian Cage, Jeff Hardy, I've worked too hard, too long and hard for you to come in and take anything from the alpha male. You want to talk about
Monty Brown is a universal. I don't know anybody who hates Monty Brown. He's great. Wait a minute, is his tongue pierced? I don't like that.
With Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy, Christian Cage, the only thing that you two will acquire is the power.
Yeah, his tongue is pierced. Ew. Top Dog says, will you bring back the Takes of the Territories videos? I would see more on going on the 60s and 70s WWE. Oh, that would require me watching all of that stuff. I don't mind watching it, but I also it's hard to watch the TV. I could put it like that. It's hard to watch the TVs. It's good. It was kind of slow. Like the main events were pretty good, but you know, some of the mid card guys were pretty good, but it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to sit and watch, but I could try. I could always try. I don't want to shoot something down before I even try doing it. But it's also one of those things where WWE doesn't have a complete run of even their own TV, which is weird. Like they don't have all their own TV up. It's like they don't put up all the Madison Square Garden shows that they had. And then Vault is putting up stuff that, and they only putting up stuff from the 80s and 90s. They're not even putting up anything from the 70s or the 60s or anything like that. Once this stuff is off Peacock, I don't know where it's going to go. Like they're putting out AAA Classico stuff, but none of that stuff is super old either. Most of that stuff is from like just a couple years ago. I never understood why he was sniffing the screen. I guess he was supposed to be like a cat or a dog or something like that. I don't know what's up with black guys taking on animal gimmicks, but it's something. Everybody likes Monty Brown, dog. I don't think anybody understood the gimmick, but everybody likes him. Top Dog says he feels pre-Hogan. WWE and wrestling needs more love and appreciation. Like wrestling fans nowadays couldn't even tell you who Pedro Morales is, which is really sad because if you go back and watch some Pedro, he was fun. I don't think he had matches that were better than Bruno's matches, though. I really enjoyed Bruno's matches. Even when they had the same opponents, I'm not sure that Pedro did better with the opponent than Bruno did. And remind you that they thought Bruno sucked, by the way. Now nobody thinks that Bruno sucks. What in the hell was going on with Jeff? This is a weird thing here that Christian was considered a bigger acquisition than Jeff Hardy, which I don't think anybody in their right mind would have considered. But Jeff had already been in TNA for a little while at this point, and they were not doing a great job with him. And they treated Christian like he's a big deal. Now, Christian had just gotten hot in WWE, so it makes sense. But Jeff Hardy was inarguably more over than Christian, for God's sake. Even back then, even at this point in time in 2005, Jeff Hardy was you know, Jeff Hardy. He wouldn't become like that motherfucking Jeff Hardy until like 2008 or so. But Jeff Hardy is Jeff Hardy when Jeff Hardy is Jeff Hardying. You know what I'm saying? So he was Christian was not a bigger star than Jeff Hardy in 2005. I'm sorry. He just had a couple of weeks where he was super over because he talked a pretty good promo. And then he got the push in TNA that Jeff didn't get because Jeff was fucking up. But if TNA had done the right thing from the beginning, then Jeff would have just been fucking up in the main event. That's all that would have been. But they probably would have did better off. Top Dog says the fact that Bruno and Pedro didn't come up when it comes to the GOAT baby faces is sad. Bruno was such a great baby face. Bruno is on the WWF's Mount Rushmore. And I don't even understand how people can. I understand that a lot of young people wouldn't understand that, but because they're not going back that far. But Bruno he's Hulk Hogan before Hulk Hogan. You know? What was that? Jesus. Jesus. The Generation Sharingan says, not going to lie, 06 and 07, they can convince me that Christian was basically their equivalent to Edge. I think that's what they were trying to do. And look, outside of getting the push, they pretty were kind of equivalent. I mean, Edge had the edge, ironically, because of the whole Matt Hardy stuff. So the heat that Edge was getting was really, really over the top. But in terms of skill set, I think they're mostly equal. Oddly enough, I don't like none of the matches they had against each other. I didn't like the matches they had against each other in AEW either, if we're being honest. Edge and Christian are a lot like Matt and Jeff Hardy. Two decent, two decent wrestlers to good wrestlers. They just don't have chemistry. And I think a lot of that has to do with their friendship. They don't have the Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn level of chemistry in the ring. It's hard to deny. It's hard to deny, and I think some people do. When they look at who are integral pieces of TNA getting over, they look at AJ Styles, but Jeff Hardy should be on that list. There's a lot of people who would not have been watching TNA if Jeff Hardy wasn't on the show. Even if he wasn't in the main event, Jeff Hardy was Jeff Hardy, man. It's hard to explain to people. But everybody kind of figured Jeff was kind of a screw up, so it was his fault. But even today, Jeff Hardy is the top draw in TNA. That's 2025. Jeff Hardy is the top draw in TNA. Not Matt Hardy, not the Hardys, Jeff Hardy. All right. When Jeff's not there, nobody talks about TNA. Nobody cares. When Jeff is there, it's all about what Jeff is doing. Unless they do something ridiculous like what they did last week. Top Dog said, I think Bruno was handicapped by his era. Things for him to get super mainstream like Hogan, Rock, Cena. Cable TV wasn't a thing in the 70s. That's true. By the time the national stuff came along, he was already old. But that people will have to care about old wrestling, but they don't. But the youth don't really care about old stuff anyway. Like they don't care about old music. They don't really care about old movies. They really don't care. They pick like their era and go with that. And they might it's hard for a lot of people to watch pre WW, pre Vince McMahon WWF. It's really hard for them to get into it. Because it was booked so differently and it was presented so differently. Well, what is Jeff doing? What was that? Oh shit. Yeah, that clothesline was pretty stiff. We still having Hardy parties, brother. Monty Brown got the stomp with the punches. He like the British Bulldog. Look at how he's selling big though. Like Hardy's hitting him with clotheslines. He's not going down. He's staggering instead. You said Young Buck. I can't see them beating Steiner Bros or Road Warrior. What are you talking about? You talking about the Hardys being in terms of being over? I think they're bigger stars than the Steiners were. I love the Steiners, but I think the Hardy Boys bigger than the Steiners. Now they weren't bigger than the Road Warriors in terms of being over and drawing money and everything. No, but they probably I can make an argument that the Hardys are bigger stars than the Steiners. But the Road Warriors, I won't even try because Road Warriors was huge. They were huge. They were stars everywhere they went. So the Road Warriors are something. They were stars in Japan. They were stars in Minnesota. They were stars in the South. For Crockett. They came to WWF. They were stars there, even with the silly puppet thing. They were stars there. They sold a ton of merchandise in the WWF. I know. I even bought some, like the action figures. I had the action figures. They were tremendous in the WWF. Like imagine MTV, VHS, and cable blew up in the 70s instead of the 80s, and Vince Jr. Sr. had his ear. Don't you think Bruno goes super mainstream? What? He beat Jeff Hardy? Wow. I wouldn't expect to see. I ain't see that coming. I don't think so because I think that if they had gone mainstream in the 70s, Superstar Billy Graham would have ended up being the star. Especially when Superstar Billy Graham started, rhyming and everything on TV, he'd have been huge on like MTV or something like that. He'd have been big. Bruno still would have been a star though for sure. But I think Superstar Billy Graham would have taken the ball and been almost unsurpassable. He'd have forced him to turn babyface too. That's for sure. He probably wouldn't have had Backlund at all at that point. Oh my word! What a match this is. Oh, what is the purpose of this? Hmm. It's a tag team match. This is an 8-man tag. They're not doing a good job of explaining what this is. This is how UFC used to do their video packages. Oh, it's an 8-man tag. Okay.
Three's a party, but four's a party too. You gotta be professional about this, Christopher Daniels. I demand to know where Samoa Joe is. Alex, don't worry about Samoa Joe. Already had a long talk with Joe. His mind is the right.
Top Dog says the Nova is the same way the 60s and 70s have pretty much become a forgotten history. The NBA and fans basically act like the league started with Magic and Bird. So it's pretty annoying, honestly. Yeah, it's like the NFL. You know, it's like the NFL didn't really become a thing until like the late 80s. Like there were tons of Super Bowls and shit like that before like Tecmo Bowl and all, but nobody cares, right? Like I think Montana and the 49ers and then the Cowboys kind of made football popular around the globe. Well, not the globe, but around the country. But yes, you're right. Magic and Bird kind of started the NBA. Even though there were stars before them, even though, you know, that's why it's hard to argue about guys like Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain and Dr. J, Julius Erving, Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, all these guys who were huge stars in like the 70s and stuff like that. And people don't know who they are, have no idea who they are. And the NBA kind of starts when Jordan was drafted, I guess. It is what it is. Joe. I can't believe Alex Shelley is still wrestling, dog. He need to give it up. I assume he's finally starting to make some real money, so he wants to try to. I know he got a second job right around the time he became TNA World Champion, which is an oddball thing. Is that in this era of TNA, they're starting to make all the guys who never became world champion before world champion. So they made Alex Shelley world champion like a year or two ago, and now they're making Frankie Kazarian the world champion. It's like these guys never should have been world champion. You know, even though Alex Shelley's a hell of a wrestler, he just never should have been the world champion. Oh my God, Roderick Strong is still around. You know what's even funnier? The fact that he kicked Bruce Lee is the funnier that he actually knows martial arts. That's even funnier. Like when I first saw the movie, I didn't know that he even studied martial arts. I thought he just did it in the movie. But no, he really did study martial arts. He's 7 feet tall or something like that. Like what? Why? Why? Why is he studying martial arts at that height? Who's gonna fight you? Who you want to fight? You weren't even playing the Bad Boy Pistons at the time, when you might wanted to kick Bill Lambier in the chest or something like that. You know. Top Dog says I just hate as a history buff. People don't want to give anything pre-80s any love. It's basically 1984 come to life. Yeah, because there's a lot. Like one of the things that has been a problem is the documentation. For instance, a lot of people don't believe that the 100-point game that Wilt Chamberlain had occurred because there was no video footage of it. And I think what's that guy's name? Pablo Torre or whatever. He found a radio proof that it happened, and he found people who played in the game. So it's not that it, they was like, oh, it's a myth. I kept hearing people say it was a myth. It was a myth. I knew it was real, because I knew people had talked about it. I didn't really care that much about it though. But then, basketball buffs was like, the 100-point game is a myth because they recorded games at the time and there was no recorded games. And I'm like, did y'all ask anybody who played in the game? Sure enough, Pablo Torre found people who played in the game, and they found a radio broadcast of it. So they proved that it exists. But a lot of people felt like that. That the other team pretty much just gave up and let them score 100 points. that it wasn't just he was like that good, but like the other team basically just tapped out and just said, "Fuck it, we don't care." And then also a lot of those leagues weren't fully formed yet. Like the NFL wasn't like a fully formed league. It was still two separate leagues, and then they played each other in the final game of each season. And that's how and the NBA hadn't fully formed yet either because it was still an American Basketball Association in the 70s, if I remember correctly. I don't know when they officially merged to make the NBA, but there was still an American Basketball Association in the 70s. And there, that's how you have so many guys who uh, in pro wrestling they play football, but it wasn't the same as playing in the modern NFL. Like um, it's right on the tip of my tongue. He played for the Green Bay Packers. Shit, what is his name? Um, Dick the Bruiser. Dick the Bruiser. He played for the Green Bay Packers, and he played like 2 seasons or something like that. He didn't play long. But the NBA, I mean, the NFL then wasn't the NFL today. They didn't make a ton of money, and there was no real prestige to it. You know, like later on, they would say, "Oh, these guys played in the NFL." He was on the practice team. You know, like Baron Corbin. He was on the practice team in the NFL. He didn't make the team. You know? But what's the name? Also played in the NFL. Ernie Ladd. So it was kind of a common thing, but those leagues were not what they became, and wrestlers often made more money than football players, and that's why guys would quit football to go into wrestling. But you never see that today. What you see today is guys who get cut from the team going to wrestling because NFL players get paid a grip. Top Dog said it also doesn't help that the 70s and before it's pre-videotapes, a lot of companies threw out the master tape. That is true, which is why I think the Wilt Chamberlain thing lasted as a myth, quote unquote, for so long. Is nobody really thought to keep their tapes, or they never thought they never thought those things would be relevant. You know, they never thought they would matter. And that was again one thing that Vince McMahon was pretty smart is WWF never got rid of any of their tapes. At least I don't think they did. Like they own all of their original tapes. There might be some stuff that they don't have. I can't think of it on top of my head. But for the most part, they keep their own tapes, and they've always kept their own tapes. Other wrestling companies were taping over their own tapes, which is why there's so many gaps in footage and things like that because they were eliminating a lot of their own tapes. But then you realize like the NFL was doing the same thing, the NBA was doing the same thing. They didn't think in 40 or 50 years people might want to watch that stuff. You know, they never really considered that people might want to watch it or even cared about it. You know, it was the same thing with people following wrestling in kayfabe. You know, the sports writers or whatever, even though they knew it was a work, they were following it in kayfabe. So a lot of the old newspapers and wrestling is kayfabe shit. I don't find AI wrestling videos funny. I think they kind of cringe. Top Dog says, I think WWE somewhere in their vault has matches or even events going back to the 50s and 60s. Yeah, I do believe they have a lot of stuff, but I don't think they have everything. Like I think that there are some things that they just don't have. But anything that aired on TV, I'm pretty sure they got it. Like they got their stuff from HBO. They don't want to put out. I don't know why not. Like they got the stuff that they aired when they were on HBO the first time, and they don't put that stuff out. It's not even on. At least I don't. You know what? It might have been on the MSG network, and they might have that stuff in the classics or something like that. Maybe that's where that stuff is. But they really just tape big events like Boston Garden shows and MSG shows. I'm not sure how much of that stuff from like Allentown or Baltimore or Washington D.C. did they taped. I'll have to look at the classics again. But a lot of times they tape stuff so they can shoot angles, so they can show like some of the footage later. But it wasn't common that they was taping like house shows and stuff. They were taping things for TV. That's why I love that WWF is putting up, well, the Vault is putting up old house shows from they put up a mid South wrestling house show recently. That was pretty damn good because I didn't know how many companies actually taped house shows. Oof. Samoa Joe's going to work on this dude. Top Dog says you're right on Bruno being Hogan before Hogan. Bruno had the crowd going absolutely wild for him. Yeah, like Bruno used to tear everybody up. He used to be great. I mean, the guy was champion for like 7 or 8 years straight. I mean, and people never got tired of it. He got tired of being the top guy. That's why it stopped happening. They offered him a spot in the office, and he turned it down. That's how popular he was. Matt Bentley is Shawn Michaels' cousin. Yeah, I heard about that. Talent is not genetic. He's not terrible. He's just kind of generic. His tag team was very generic too. The Naturals. They're like a rip off of the Rockers, which I guess was the point. Some people saying The Rock, Stone Cold, or even Cena are better babyface than Bruno doesn't understand what being a babyface means. I think that it just kind of changed over time, and they did a better job of picking the heels that Bruno wrestled. I think the only heel that really tried to get over as a babyface was Superstar Billy Graham. I think everybody else was just pretty committed to being a heel, and they couldn't get none of those guys booed, well, cheered over Bruno anyway. This match is nothing. I can't believe it's going on for so long. Even though there's some talented guys in here, I really don't care about this match at all. And I don't understand what's the purpose of it. It's just a bunch of X Division guys taking bumps. This is the first time they brought in Austin Aries into TNA. He was kind of a nothing here. Then he got fired, or they sent him home, or he left, or something. And then he came back a couple of years later, and they were treating him like he was the biggest deal of all time. And I guess that was after he became Ring of Honor World Champion. But I don't remember like what the timeline of that is. I just remember he came back to TNA and they started treating him like he was a really, really big deal, even though I didn't think that there was much to Austin. I liked him. He was fine, but I didn't think much of Austin Aries, if I'm being honest. I'm not even frustrated by these damn commercials anymore. Probably because I'm barely watching this thing at this point. I'm mostly talking about old shit. Who told Austin Aries to basically go get the Abraham Lincoln joint? Roderick Strong is just always looked like an indie wrestler. He waited until later in his life and to get into shape. Well, he's not in bad shape here. He's just in generic shape. Austin Aries looks like Kano from Mortal Kombat. What Mortal Kombat game was that? You throw the fucking guy off the roof. I used to play that game all the time. Man, I had that game too. I don't remember what Mortal Kombat it was. I think it was it 4? Not 4. Was it 4? It might have been 4. Because I didn't play like Deception or anything like that, so it's probably 4. You throw Jarek off the roof. But Kano used to make those same weird ass noises. WWE should show old promos and matches from the 70s. If they do to the younger wrestlers, it's probably just the same regular people, Dusty, Superstar, Bruno. I don't think they're showing Spiros Arion in there. I don't think they're showing old Pat Patterson. They're not showing Sergeant Slaughter and Superfly Snooker. Well, certainly I wouldn't show a Superfly Snooker promo, for God's sake. He could barely fucking talk. Oh, the stereo leaps. This is the era of that shit just getting started. TNA, TNA. Spiros Arion. You don't know who Spiros Arion is? He wrestled Bruno a bunch. Stan Stasiak was pretty good too. He was a transitional champion. I think he's only champion like a couple of days. But you can go back and watch some old Stan Stasiak stuff. And he's pretty good. Much better than his son was. His son sucked. The master of the heart punch. I was never much of an Ivan Koloff guy though. 1, 2. Oh, finally. Wait, it's elimination? It's elimination? Oh no. Sanjay Dutt, useless. Just garbage. Small, Jeet. No positives. There's no positives to Sanjay Dutt. Usually somebody might be funny at the very least. He's not even funny. There's just no redeeming qualities to Sanjay Dutt. He's the shits. And he was around for so long. Top Dog says, even outside of wrestling, I feel like pop culture from the 60s and 70s has a weird but cool charm to it. The later half of the 70s ruled for pop culture. The music and the movies from the 60s and 70s are top tier. I love 60s and 70s movies. I really do. And the music, too. The music, especially in for Black America, was fantastic. But also for, white weights as well. They were doing very good. A lot of the rock music that I like the Doors from the 70s and 60s. I love the Doors. I love Jefferson Airplane as well, which is weird because people think like I listen to rock music. They like, oh, you like Metallica and like Green Day. I'm like, well, no, I mean like the Doors and Jefferson Airplane and psychedelic rock. Jimi Hendrix. What was the point of that? What's up with every Indian wrestler balding? I don't say that DNA, man. I don't know. They bald young. Top Dog says he sees people talk about the 50s and 70s, then talk about the same repetitive stuff like from the 90s to now. That's because there was not a lot of monotony back then. There was a lot of regional shit. You could be a superstar and not even be known nationally back then. And that's what makes like rappers when they sample stuff and you'd be like, damn, this song was incredible. And most people had never even heard it because it might have been a local record. Oh, he tapped out finally. Get out of here. Like it always benefited to be a good national act. But there was a lot of people in the 70s and the 60s that they didn't become like big national stars. They had some really good music. It's the same thing with the movies. Like a lot of those black movies, they flopped. They didn't do great, but they were still like really good movies. Especially like the Pam Grier movies. They were kind of generic too, where it's like the same movie, but I still enjoyed them. Like Foxy Brown and Sheba Baby. And the great thing is, all those movies are on Tubi, so you can go back and watch them. But I really got into the I really got into the music by catching samples and listening to rap music and catching samples, and that just dragged me into older music. That's when I really started. Like my mom didn't have a lot of music from her era. Like she didn't listen to a lot of like Stevie Wonder. My mom likes the blues, and so there's a lot of Johnny Taylor, and she liked Al Green, and that was pretty much it. Of course, she grew up in the city where the Temptations and the Supremes and all of them was major. So of course there was a lot of that stuff, but um, there was a whole lot of soul that she never really listened to. She never listened to like Curtis Mayfield. And my dad, please get real, he never listened to music. My dad liked classical music. When I was a kid, he listened to symphonies and Vivaldi and that kind of shit. And I didn't understand it. Like I didn't understand it. It was like Mama's music had words to it. So my dad was always a weirdo. But Mom didn't listen to a lot of like Stevie Wonder. She listened to some Bobby Womack, but Otis Redding, she never really played anything like that. So I had to go back and find a lot of that stuff for myself, which ended up being great because I started coming into that era during the age of pirating. So I would go and pirate whole greatest hits or whatever. And then I would pirate albums. And then I found out that I actually liked the group more by listening to the album. Like the Isley Brothers, you could listen to the greatest hits and love the Isley Brothers. But if you listen to their albums, oh my God, you'll become a super fan. It's the same thing with Marvin Gaye. You can listen to Marvin Gaye, just the greatest hits, and you'll love Marvin Gaye, just the greatest hits. If you start downloading the albums though and getting into some of those album cuts, oh my God, you realize the depth of his talent. He is tremendous. I Want You is a classic album. The same can be said for Stevie Wonder. Stevie Wonder has a tremendous discography. Discography is phenomenal. Same thing with Curtis Mayfield. Same thing with Funkadelic / Parliament, which it is two separate bands because they have two separate sounds. I'm more of a Funkadelic guy myself, but go back and listen to like the actual albums, not just the greatest hits. You'll come away with a much greater appreciation for music from the 60s and 70s, especially the 70s. And more than just, oh, this is a cool sample that I heard. Like when I first heard Funkadelic Knee Deep, I think that's what it's called, not just Knee Deep or something like that, which was sampled Me, Myself, and I by De La Soul. I was too young to know what that song was when I first heard it. But when I went back and listened to it, I actually love Funkadelic, and I don't like De La Soul. So I was like, yeah, this song fucking rules. It's 15 minutes. It's 15-minute record. You know they couldn't. They have like a shortened version of that record too. It's like a radio friendly version of the record. But that song is 15 minutes. The late 70s and early 80s, 76 to 80, pre MTV was such an underrated time for culture. And it was still in the 80s. Culture was starting to come in such a cool time. Yeah, like there's so much stuff there that is unmined, and you really don't appreciate it because you don't hear a lot of it. And the same could be said for like some of the early 90s stuff because a lot of the stuff that was hot in the 80s, it kind of got played out in the 90s. So stuff started slipping through the cracks. Like I just heard for probably the first time in a long time that song Supersonic by JJ Fad, and I was like, this song is infectious. And I haven't heard this song in forever. I think I saw it on Twitter, and I was like, this is fantastic. And then they fapping, they fapping, they rapping fast at the end, and I was like, are you serious? Like, it's a girl rap group, and Supersonic is such a great record. Like, good luck trying to get somebody to actually know what that song is. So I was listening to some old heads, jazz or funk. Uh, I fell in love with funk. I really did. I listen to some jazz, but it only sticks with me if I'm focusing on something. Like if I have to read, like when I used to read, for classes and stuff. I used to do classical music, and then I would do jazz sometimes just to mix it up, and then I would do instrumental hip hop, Nujabes, Dilla, that kind of stuff, Flying Lotus, which is kind of like electro. And I would listen to that kind of stuff so I can study. So I would just kind of rotate, but I can't stick with jazz. So I'm a funk guy personally, you know, Funkadelic and Curtis Mayfield, and like that stuff is Jimi Hendrix. Even though Jimi Hendrix wasn't much of a singer, it was. But then also you got Rick James, Prince. I'm sick of these commercials. My God, there's so many goddamn commercials, man. It's like it just went to commercial and it came back and back on commercial. I feel like I only went through like 8 commercials just in this one match. This match is long as shit. Can this match please end at some point this century? You said 91 to 96 felt like a late 90s such a downgrade compared to it. There was more. I think there was more homogeneity in the late 90s and in the early 2000s. Like there's a lot of homogeneity today because if you do anything unique, a bunch of people jump on it. Like what was that kid named Shabuzi or whatever? He started doing Western music, and as you know, that people just doing Westerns now. And not actually, I think it might have been Lil Nas X. They did the Western thing first. Um, and then all of a sudden, fucking Beyonce is doing a Western album, and now you got Negroes and cowboy hats and jeans, and I'm like, oh my god, like this wouldn't have happened in the early '90s or whatever. He'd just been like the only weirdo doing it, and it would have made him stand out. But now everybody's just you do one thing sort of original, and now everybody's doing it. That's kind of how things got so blown out of proportion in the music business. I hate it so much. Like once Kanye, no, actually T Pain started doing the vocoder or whatever, it became everywhere. Kanye started doing it on every record, and then once he started doing it, everybody started doing it, and you couldn't tell north from south, east from west. Everybody started doing the same thing. It was the shit. I hate it so much. That's part of why I stopped listening to rap. Things became too homogenous. I miss I miss clear distinctions in regions. Like you go back to hip hop in the '80s and '90s, everybody wanted to represent their region because even if you didn't become a national star, you might be like a local legend. So you'll have groups like Above the Rim that had that song Black Superman, and that might have been like the only national song that they made that was famous of any description. But they still did like 3 or 4 albums because they were pretty popular on the West Coast. Same thing with Do or Die in the Midwest. You know, like they had Poe Pimpin', which was like I think their only national record that really hit. But were around for a really long time because they could still tour and do everything in the Midwestern towns. And of course, New Yorkers always wanted to sound like New Yorkers, but when the South took over and things became more homogenous, everybody started trying to sound like that Southern rapper, and it ruined everything, ruined every fucking thing. And but that's the downside of capitalism is that if you do something creative, other people copy it, and then they run it into the ground. Like the Marvel Cinematic Universe was inventive at its time. Next thing you know, everybody's trying to do a Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now everybody's trying to do a cinematic universe. So there's that. Universal Monsters tried to do one. It flopped. It didn't work. DC has been trying to do it for years. It didn't work. Um, just people don't know how to be creative anymore. Not everyone could be Darius Rucker. He was like a weirdo because he would be like the only black singer I would see on MTV that was not rapping or singing R&B. But Hootie and the Blowfish would be there all the time, and they would be on the list. TRL and everything. I didn't like Hootie and the Blowfish either. I felt like I should have. I should have liked them because it was the black singer. I didn't like Hootie and the Blowfish at all. I thought they were annoying. Because it was Lil Nas X Old Town Road blew up in 2019. It came after the grunge emo rap Juice WRLD and XXX Tentacion. He said, "Would you agree with me that the South basically didn't necessarily ruin hip hop? Was the point? Was the starting point of the ruining of hip hop? The South was just doing what they do, and New Yorkers started copying it. That's what ruined hip hop. Is everybody started playing copycat when people couldn't get over doing their own regional stuff anymore because it wouldn't fly. They started copying the South, and that ruined it because people didn't get it anymore. Like people didn't want to hear ASAP Rocky rapping over Southern beats. Like it was inventive because he was, a New York rapper. At the same time, though, we want to hear Southern shit from Southern rappers. You know what I'm saying? We don't need New Yorkers doing Southern rap. But at the same time, he was coming up during a time where rap in the South was hot, so he wanted to do that. Just didn't see the point of it, like you're from New York. And that was the whole thing with Joey Badass for a time there too. He tried to bring back the boom bap, but his sound was so old. It sounded like it was like 1990, 1991. So people was like, yeah, no. He was going back to the roots and everything, but he went back too far. Like that shit sounded like a Tribe Called Quest to some people. And I liked it, but I like a Tribe Called Quest and I like that era of hip hop. A lot of other people don't. Oh, look at this baby AJ Styles here. He's so concerned over his buddy, Christopher Daniels. He murdered Christopher Daniels, by the way. That was great. Well, Christopher Daniels was being an asshole, if we're being honest. That fat guy looks like an EMT. I trust him. He's the most realistic looking EMT I've ever seen on a wrestling show. What's my thoughts on the whole late 2010s? I honestly was not listening to that stuff. It sounded like, audio depression. I wasn't listening to none of that stuff. I think Future is good though. I like Future.
Exactly what I've been talking about. Screaming from the mountaintops for months and months and months. And there's only been a few smart people who've listened to me. But Christian Cage rolled in here tonight. And you know what? He wasn't the first one. First it was Dynamite. Then came 3D. And now Christian Cage. There's more to come. TNA management thinks they're going to take the cornerstone. The people who built this company from the ground up. They want to take us out. They want to fire us. They want to get rid of us. It's not going to happen. You know what, guys? I don't think Team 3D has what it takes to stay on top of the mountain. You know what? Step one is coming in the door. Step two is staying. And they're not going to stay on our mountain. Hey, 3D.
What kind of stable is this? What is the point of this stable?
We just didn't realize how stupid you were. When you walked in, you came into TNA. You were
James Storm also got the Abraham Lincoln. Why is these guys having no mustaches?
It's a good thing you did show back up, guys. So me and this match show you how great we really are.
James Storm is my top TNA guy. I love James Storm. Even back then, I just didn't like this beard with no mustache. That's so weird. It's so indie looking. Go comb your hair, Jarrett. Shut up. I want to hear your message to Christian. Top Dogs have definitely catered to depressed teenagers and young adults at the time, especially Juice WRLD. Those guys killed each other off. They literally, well, that other guy got murdered, but I think he OD'd, right? This Juice WRLD dude. Like these guys were down bad in the worst way possible. Rural Metro. Oh my goodness. Finally, something good. Sabu and Abyss. This ought to be good. I don't understand why Abyss would be scared of barbed wire and he's okay with thumbtacks. Congratulations to Sabu, by the way. He was announced for the Wrestling Observer Newsletter Hall of Fame, which seemingly came out of nowhere. Because I don't remember him even being in the conversation last year, and now he comfortably won this year too. I'm not against it though. I definitely think that when it comes to modern day wrestlers, Sabu is incredibly influential. And it was a lot of it was his own doing, that why he didn't become a bigger star. But I'm a big fan of Sabu. There's also a lot of revisionist history around Abyss as well. He's just a very nice guy. Like there's a whole lot of people. Oh, Abyss was better than Kane. He was such a good character. Like because he fell on thumbtacks and fire and shit. Is that what being a good wrestler is? I don't know. I don't know. And personally, I'm not even caping for Kane. I don't think Kane was great for most of that run. But people only talk about Abyss because he was a nice guy and he fell through some tables. Mongo says, I agree the whole bling bling rap of the late 90s and 2000s was worse than the Southern rap. Literally every single was about bottles in the club, which got old fast. There is an element of truth to that. There is an element of truth to that. There was especially from like 98 to like 2008, for like 10 years, there was a whole lot of the bottles in the club, the in the club records. And that was before the Southern takeover. So technically you're right. Even though the bling bling era was cash money, but there were still regional sounds at the time. The problem was when the regional sounds went away. Like New York niggas was just doing their version of the bottles in the club. We had Lean Back and in the club, 50 Cent. They were doing their version of bottles in the club, kind of, for elderly people and twerkers. I thought this was their barbed wire match. So it took death to get him in the Dave Meltzer Hall of Fame or whatever. That's exactly what happened. He died, and a bunch of people talked about how great he was when he died. So he got into the Hall of Fame. I mean, Jim Cornette complained about it, but it's actually factual. That's exactly what happened. I don't remember him being in the conversation the year before. I could argue that he probably should have been, but he got in comfortably this year. But I think, to be quite honest, the Hall of Fame is going to be less contentious now because Punk and Cody are in as well. So there's not going to be a lot of people to argue about anymore. Like the arguments were, Roman doesn't deserve to be in it. Punk doesn't deserve to be in it. The Young Bucks don't deserve to be. Not all of those guys are in there. So there's no contentious guy anymore. At least not for another decade or so. I think probably the most contentious guys now are the guys who don't make it, like Edge and Orton. And there's not going to be a lot of people arguing for them. Because Randy Orton has been voted like by. That depressed me because that's the first time I had really looked deep into who was voting in these Hall of Fames. And I saw that Randy Orton was voted at least number one by mostly former retired wrestlers. But then the wrestling media types would vote him like dead last or something like that. And you was looking like, man, whoever the voting pool of this is trash. And I didn't care before then, and I don't care now. But kudos to everybody who gets in, I guess. Darren Miles says, and they made those records because clubs were profitable back then. Club scene is dying now. Yeah, the club is going the way to the mall. And a lot of the clubs are just sections now where people go in and they buy bottles of bullshit. Generation Sharingan says, but the bling bling stuff was pretty much 2000 rap, which was largely Southern, especially after 2003. It really became bad once the South took over completely. It got really bad. And the street singles kind of went away. And that was a big problem. Like, that's what I really enjoyed. I like street singles. I didn't like the club stripper music. Like that stuff was always there. The Two Live Crew, the Trina, Trick Daddy, that kind of stuff. I didn't really like that stuff. I always like street singles. So like um when I started hearing like the South do like you know some really good street singles, that's kind of when I started going to that side. But they had always been a club based product because the South has always been they got good weather and they got bad bitches, so they do stuff for the South, do stuff for the clubs and the girls, which is fine, but it became excessive and it was everywhere. And you had people doing stuff like that and had no business doing it. Like when Nas did Uchi Wally, I was like, man, these niggas done lost their mind. Like that's not a song for the girls. Uchi Wally sucks. The Generation Sharingan says Edge hasn't been on it. That's wild to me. They don't like Edge. Edge is a WWE guy, just like Randy Orton, so they're not gonna. He gets no love. No love. Like I wonder if Brock Lesnar is in. I don't know if he's even in there. He said CM Punk should have been in their Hall of Fame 2014, 2015. Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't. He wasn't in there sooner, personally. Top Dog says it got bad around 2005, 2006 with Soldier Boy. Dude looks so stupid and corny with the baggy shirt going all the way down to his knees. I looked at Soldier Boy the same way as I saw Chris Cross. Like he was an underage rapper. He was like 17 or something like that. So he was kind of doing kid rap. And I didn't have a problem with that. Like I still do think that there needs to be music for children. Um, so I didn't really hate it. The problem was when Soldier Boy grew up. That was the problem. That was the problem. But he looked like a fool, but he was making music for kids, like snap rap and all that stuff. I didn't hate it because I got it. I understood what the purpose of it. The snap rap and the ringtone rap, that stuff was for kids, and it taking things a little bit back to the roots of they're doing dances and stuff. So I wasn't thrilled with it. Like I wasn't gonna sit down and listen to it, but I understood why it existed. So swag surfing. What else was there? Shoulder lean was that Young Dro. Even though I don't think Young Dro was for kids, he was cussing and stuff. But a lot of that stuff was lighthearted rap, and I was cool with that because again, it was good for kids. And I thought that kids need to listen to something other than like DMX. Like 50 Cent is not for kids. But I prefer street singles personally. That's why I never liked Lil Flip. Even though Game Over was kind of a hit, I did like that song. I didn't like Lil Flip for that same reason. I think a lot of his stuff was trash. He said the Wrestling Observer newsletter audience is really corny and pretentious. I agree. They're the corniest and most pretentious, which is the saddest part. Um, what an amazing spot that is. That slingshot over into the leg drop. That was crazy. The crazy thing is a lot of those people don't know history and they don't look up history. So it's going to be an interesting thing in the future. Um, and I think Brian Last was talking about that. Like most of these people know nothing about Mexico. They know nothing about Japan. Once they get the people that they like in there, then what? What do you do with those categories? You know, good question. Good question. You hated the dumb dances. I didn't do any of the dances, but I understood. Again, I understand why they exist. He's very orderly in spreading these barbed wires. Oh, that was smart. That was so smart. James Mitchell hooked the chair with the barbed wire with his cane. That was pretty sweet. A manager actually doing something intelligent. I mean, look at this. How simple this is he's getting hit with clotheslines and he's not going down because he's so much bigger than Sabu. Oh, effortlessly too. Oh, I'm sick of seeing fucking drug commercials, man. Darren Miles says I used to listen to DMX as a kid. He had me barking. Look, give me a sign. I was 13 when DMX came out, and I was not old enough to listen to that album. But let me tell you, I was all in when DMX. When I 14 years old, I had the tape of "It's Dark and Hell Is Hot." I was the first. I was really trying to put people on to DMX. I love DMX. I was listening to him earlier today, actually. I was all in on the Rough Riders thing, except Dragon. He sucked. Even though I had his albums anyway. As a kid in the 2000s, Soldier Boy was corny. Then he's corny now. I never was a super fan of Soldier Boy. Soldier Boy, tell him. It always blew my mind that that's actually his name. Soldier Boy, tell him. I like Gucci Bandana though. That song is catchy, and I like the beat mostly. But I can't cape for anything Soldier Boy. That's probably because I kind of like Shorty Low. Not like I sit down and listen to the whole album, but I like Shorty Low singles. The D4L stuff. I'm the man. I'm the man. Got no white, but the white be my girlfriend. Got no white, but the white be my girlfriend. I couldn't. I remember Shorty Low saying stuff, but I don't remember no verses. No verses, but I remember him saying shit. Oh, Black Hole Slam on the barbed wire. My goodness. Ooh. Top Dog says Kendrick Lamar had one of my favorite runs as a rapper from 2012 to 2013. Swimming pools, money trees, bitch don't kill my vibe. Good Kid, Mad City was such a great album. It was. It was a tremendous album. Tremendous record. This match was kind of tame compared to the other matches they've had, especially that finish. The Abyss isn't even bleeding all over the place. But that was a hell of a finish right there, though. Sensible finish, too. He hit his finish on a barbed wire chair. I love Good Kid, Mad City. I love To Pimp a Butterfly as well. But I don't think like everything Kendrick Lamar made was like classic. That's where I depart from everybody else who like treat everything he did like it's gospel or something like that. Wrestling Observer's pro wrestling version of ESPN when they left Kobe off the best list for best athlete or something like that. And Kobe called him a bunch of idiots. Mm-hmm. I always say don't take any rap don't take any rap advice from people who don't know who Big Daddy Kane is. And when it comes to wrestling, if they do know some people, don't listen to them. Don't listen to them. If they never heard Adventures of Slick Rick, I don't want to hear you talk about rap, to be quite honest. Secondly, if you have been watching like the most obscure Japanese wrestling shows and you know who Dump Masumoto is, I really don't care to hear your opinion on wrestling. You're pretentious as fuck. Because I've tried watching those shows and I keep falling asleep on them, no matter who's on the goddamn show. Like I can watch singular matches, but I can't watch whole shows. And if I can't watch your show, I don't really care. Because to me, wrestling is you watch the show, you watch stray matches. But that's how these people started watching these wrestling shows. They started watching stray matches. Then maybe they'll get a tape, and it might be a mixtape or something like that. Did you listen to any Drake songs? I stopped listening to rap right as Drake blew up. Um, so for me, Drake was like featured on a lot of songs like Money to Blow and Aston Martin music. I never really liked any Drake singles, like any Drake records. I think listening to those diss records with between him and Kendrick Lamar was the most Drake I'd ever listened to be quite honest. I'm pretty sure I heard his very first mixtape, but I don't remember anything on it. Because I remember when he was blowing up. I was there for that. But I was not like in. Because I wasn't listening to like Young Money, Cash Money, Nicki Minaj and all that. I wasn't really. Didn't really know about it. You don't want to hear a rap opinion if you only listen to Eminem. That's called white elites. They usually have decent opinions on rap though. They actually care about the style, and they care about the craft. I know a lot of black people. I don't want to hear no white opinions on the rap music. Like, man, they the ones keeping the shit alive. Y'all listening to dudes that go out here ODing and going to prison. They out here, studying Public Enemy and studying scratching and everything. Like,
It's not about weight limits, it's about no limits. It's technically safe. Christopher Daniels, never seen eye to eye. In fact, I don't even like him, but I do respect him. We have a crew in the X division. I know you're in there. Samoa Joe, violent vet, and that will deal with.
AJ Styles had kids and he looks like he got eczema right here.
You have to defend the X Division title against the
Look like he's 19.
Petey Williams and his devastating Canadian destroyer, to which he fell victim less than 24 hours ago. And he plans to avoid it tonight. How do I plan to avoid it? Not take it. Canadian destroyer may be one of the coolest moves of the past year. But there's one thing that Petey Williams isn't. There's one thing that the Canadian destroyer is. And that's different. Phenomenal.
I can't believe that's the same guy we're looking at today. I can't believe it's the same person. Was Young Mongo listening to Vanilla Ice and MC Hammer? MC Hammer, yes. Vanilla Ice never really. I didn't get it, but Hammer, I did get. Hammer, absolutely. Too legit to quit. And I saw when they dissed Michael Jackson in the video, I was hot. I didn't like that. And I caught that even then. It was him and James Brown sneak dissing Michael Jackson. I didn't like that. Especially since Michael Jackson loved James Brown. That sucked. But MC Hammer was fun. It was the it's hard to say that the business probably would have been better if there'd have been more MC Hammers. But because he wasn't like a hardcore MC sitting down, he made pop rap records. He was the flow rider of his time. But I love MC Hammer. Hammer don't hurt him. Hammer don't hurt him. Actually, if no one knows Rock Me Amadeus by Falco, you ain't a real rap fan. You gotta listen to Take Two. You gotta know who Take Two is. What a great sound. I forgot who sampled that record. somebody sampled that record that brought me to listening to Take Two. Mongo was rocking parachute pants. No, I didn't couldn't afford no parachute pants. I just watched him on TV though. I watched his videos and stuff all the time. They used to throw MC Hammer up in your face. He had cartoons and everything. So yeah, I was an MC Hammer fan. You couldn't avoid him. Couldn't avoid the nigga. He was everywhere. We might have all been better off if MC Hammer had not decided to do pumps and a bump. That was a mistake. We'd all been better off without that. We'd all been better off without that. And the fact that he was like a real street dude from that era was even funnier. And the same thing is true of Nelly. Like people think that the pop rappers be the most dangerous motherfuckers. MC Hammer put the fear of God into Too Short, which is great because Too Short was lame as fuck. Darren Miles says, "Feel like Eminem just very overrated. People look at you crazy if you try to get into his music and you just don't like it." The first two albums of Eminem is undeniable. Those first two are really good. The Slim Shady LP and the Marshall Mathers LP. It gets shaky after that, and it gets more cringe after that too. And now Eminem is just cringe. You know, he could be technically a good rapper, but his music is cringe. And I felt like even those first two albums, they were very unique. He had something to say on them. So even though some of that stuff was cringe, it was creative. Um, I think the Eminem show, he tried very hard. It was okay, but that was like the last listenable Eminem album. Everything after the Eminem show is trash, and I don't think he has anything to say anymore. I kept giving him opportunities. I listened to the what was that Relapse, the one, and then there was the one before that. What was it, Recovery or something like that? I didn't like none of that shit, and I just stopped listening to him. I don't even care anymore. So, but it's hard to explain how good the first two albums are. Like those two are really good. But the D12 stuff was whack, and everything after Eminem show is whack. Oh, matter of fact, I do like the album Bad Meets Evil. He did an album with Royce da 5'9". I did like that. But outside of that, everything after the Eminem show, I don't really care for. You think Logic is garbage? Being biracial, don't care about him being black and white. Call himself Obama. This shit is corny to me. I never really listened to him, to be fair. I know a lot of people did. My homies did. They're like, "Oh, he can rap." I was like, what's the subject matter? And they didn't give me a good answer, so I was like, I'm not interested. Top Dog says, I will say I do have someone a soft spot for dance rap, like the New Boys and Cali Swag. Sadly, the era died in the late 2000s and brought in the skinny jeans fit, which I hate. Yeah, I was not a fan of the skinny jeans. I didn't like that. I didn't understand it. We had went from wearing oversized clothes to now wearing clothes that was too small. I didn't understand that at all. I didn't get it. Degenerate Son says, to be honest, non-black hip hop fans are the actual real hip hop fans at this point. They're the ones that are doing the elements, and they're the only ones that preserve history. You know, like they focus a lot on history. Like there is a small number of people who still focus on history of rap music, like hip hop history. Like a lot of real good hip hop history books are written by white people. And Nelson George is a really good music journalist. And I don't think he's written anything major on hip hop. He's been very resistant, and he was in New York at the time when the shit was popping off. He's been very resistant to write anything of note about hip hop. I know he's probably done something since, but he wrote extensively about like soul and pop and all that kind of stuff. But when it came to hip hop, he was very resistant. And he's like the preeminent black music journalist. Pretty much everybody in recent years, from like the 2000s forward, they're kind of like woke idiots. So like they're the guys who say like you don't want to hear white opinions on things, even though they barely know anything, and they don't go to shows. So the white people go to shows. They go to like a Public Enemy show. You know, like they're the ones who would like when I first started hearing about Mos Def and Black Thought acting a fool at the concert. I first started hearing it from white people because they were the only ones going to a fucking Black Star show. Most niggas don't know nothing about Black Star. Even if they know Talib Kweli and Mos Def, they don't know about Black Star. They only had one fucking album. It's Afrocentric as hell too, and the white people love that stuff. Brown skin lady, how you doing? I don't know why white people like Afrocentric music so much, but they do. They love it. They love that shit. The German Shark says, point Eminem mistress being technical for the sake of being technical. He's what I call technically a gifted raptor, but he's now a lyrically empty MC. Yeah, he doesn't really have anything to say. And I felt like he didn't really have anything to say on his third album. And I just felt like he said everything he needed to say after he killed his mom, killed his girlfriend, talked about how terrible his life was. Once he got rich, it kind of killed his gimmick because now he's not bitter, struggling. Oh shit! Oh my god, he ended up in the crowd. His success killed his gimmick. He's a CM Punk of rap. As long as he was embittered and the underdog, Eminem was venomous. Once he started selling millions of records and was a pop culture celebrity and all that kind of stuff, it kind of killed his gimmick. WG Phil says, I think AJ Styles, RVD, Batista were the only wrestlers whose first themes were mostly instrumental in getting better lyrical versions. This big bum, what are you worried about him for? Batista's theme song got so much better when he added lyrics to it. Rob Van Dam's did too. It put a little bit more punch to his theme song. I can't really tell the difference when it comes to AJ Styles, but the lyrics suck. I am, you are, I am. I love that German suplex spot, and then they started actually doing it, which was dumb. Like that, like that's a dumb spot. Like you just jammed your rib cage into that metal thing for what? It hurt like hell. Like there was no way to take that bump safely. You can only break like a rib or something like that. That's a dumb spot. Get this big meathead out of here. When Eminem hit I'm Not Afraid era, he went on the Super Cena pro military run. It was over. Obama. Killed so many gimmicks. Killed the rap is rebellious gimmick. That's for sure. Remember, rap used to be rebellious, and then Obama came along, and everybody suckled at his teeth. Killed the gimmick. Everybody except Lupe Fiasco, and he got punished for it. Eventually, he came back around, especially during COVID and everything. He got back on code, but hip hop is so rebellious. George Bush didn't care about black people. Yeah, all that happened, and then Obama happened. Then it's my president is black, my Lambo blue. Everybody's talking about how great Obama is. They love him so much. Everybody loves the government now, huh? Okay. All y'all niggas blew y'all cover. It's amazing how bad Obama blew up the world, especially pop culture. All kind of all kinds of people threw themselves in a blender over Obama. He ended friendships. The Michael Eric Dyson Cornell West fallout was traumatic for me. They fell out over Obama. Top dog says I'm the only one that hates new metal and pop rock. I'm not even the biggest grunge fan, but new metal pop rock was such rap rock. Oh, rap rock of the 2000s, which was basically Limp Bizkit. Not Limp, yeah, Limp Bizkit and Linkin Park. I didn't mind Linkin Park. They did Gorillaz. They did it too. Um, I didn't hate that stuff. I hated Limp Bizkit. I didn't like Limp Bizkit. I didn't like nothing they did except rolling, 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 rolling. I think that was kind of hard to dislike. But I like Linkin Park. I think they blended the rap rock thing very well. But I do think that other people was kind of corny with it and it didn't really work out. But I think Linkin Park did a very good job with it. And I think Gorillaz did a good job too. But that was a fake band, so it don't matter. As a West Coast music, as a fan of West Coast music, Skinny Jean Jerkin music was terrible. Well, I don't like the Skinny Jean rap. I was not a fan. But it didn't run me off as badly as everything just getting the same people being featured on every song is kind of what pissed me off. The Lil Wayne reign of terror. That nigga was everywhere. And I was not really a big fan of Lil Wayne at that point in time. So I was like, man, enough's enough. You think Triple H is going to be listening to Erica Badu? Listening to Mama's Gun? Trying to figure out how to get the Negroes back? That's okay. Just put Trick Williams on SmackDown. Put Obafemi on Raw. Give him a huge push, and everybody's going to be on your jock again. That's all you need to do. You'll be okay. You'll be okay, white boy. Superstar was a pretty good song of Lupe. Lupe had better tracks than that. That was very popish for a Lupe. But Superstar is good. I like that record. I think Food and Liquor is a classic though. I think no, Superstar was not on Food and Liquor. It was on Cool, if I remember correctly. If you are what you say you are, a superstar, then have no fear. You should have got a woman to sing that song. I like the record he did with Jill Scott. I like that song. Top Dog says the new metal in 2000s butt rock with southern rock music and completely ruined the genre and the vibe. I definitely think they lost themselves with that stuff. That's why I said white boys stopped being white boys. They started kind of being wiggers. And they all just started rapping and stuff. I didn't get it. Like I didn't mind when they started doing like mimicking R&B and stuff like that. I didn't dislike that. I think new people should share musically. I think the problem is that they stopped investing in rock bands because rappers were so successful, and then they started throwing rappers on rock albums, and that was not a good fit. It worked for like Run DMC, but it didn't need to be people everywhere. And then stuff like Gym Class Heroes that happened, and it was over from there. Ice-T was sort of the first to do the rock rack thing with the band called Body Count. I believe that was in the early 90s. I think that was after Aerosmith and Run DMC, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong, though. But Body Count, I don't think that they really didn't do anything. Like, I don't understand how he still tours with Body Count, considering I don't think Body Count did anything major. Like they don't have no hits that I know of. So the fact that he's still performing with Body Count, even in his 60s, I thought that was weird. Like I get it. There's some Ice-T records like Colors, 6 in the Morning. Those things are timeless. I absolutely would listen to the Ice-T singles, but I don't I don't know why you listen to them do a rock band, rock group. I just don't know. He botched AJ Styles spot, but that's okay. WG Phil says race relations went into the toilet for a mixed race dude who seems to be manufactured once you hear he had to break up with his white girlfriend because it would ruin his political career. I didn't know nothing about that. I just thought Obama was gay. And it seemed like I was right. And I came to that conclusion not just because he put the rainbow on the White House. He just didn't seem comfortable with his wife. he, just, he just didn't feel comfortable with his wife. He gave off gay vibes. And then you started hearing about stuff like he had a white girlfriend and he was doing cocaine. I'm like, oh, that's no big deal. But he just became less and less black the more you learn about him. Like when I read that book, what was that Dreams of My Father? I think that's what it was. When I read that book, I was like, man, I don't like Obama. I don't like this dude, man. Um, I read the book to try to like him. I voted for him the first time. I didn't vote for him the second time, though. I voted for him the first time. I didn't even vote at all the second time because I was so upset with Obama. Obamacare is the one that pushed me into being a right winger, I guess. Because when I saw the taxes for not having insurance, I was like, "What?" That red pilled the shit out of me. That and what happened to Lupe Fiasco. Oh my goodness, cook my ass. New metal and rap core, whatever, was one of the most hated genres of the '90s and 2000s. I'm pretty sure you're not going. MTV really blew out of proportion. There was so much rock rap on MTV. It was disgusting. Like I wanted to watch MTV to see, Marcy's Playground or what new thing was out there, what new band was out there, and I was just getting hit in the face with white boys rapping all the time. I was like, what the fuck is this? Like and then shit like Hammerstein. Was it Hammerstein? I think that was called Ramstein or something like that. And I was like, what is this? But I was never like a Foo Fighters fan anyway. I was just kind of like, this stuff is just stuff I sit through to get to something I actually like. But then it kept being a bunch of white boys rapping. I'm like, what is this? I don't want to hear this. And they kept doing it. And it just didn't stop. It never stopped. And it got to the point where it's like, do white boys even play the guitar anymore? Y'all got like bands anymore? Like, what's going on here? Everybody's Eminem now. Stop it. I didn't like My Way. I didn't like. I liked how it fit into the WWE. But I don't like that song though, because I don't like Fred Durst. He sucks. Like I'll never listen to that song just on its own. But if you put that WWE video package together, I'm there. I like Saliva though, especially when and Seether. I like Saliva and Seether. There was not a lot of rap there with Saliva and Seether. It was just kind of like generic white boys playing it. Ooh, that was fantastic. That was a pretty good bump by Petey Williams there. He didn't sell it though, which is sick. Obama always looked like Tom from the Boondocks. The crazy thing is, I think Aaron Magruder is from Chicago, and he might have known about because the Boondocks started before Obama became president. But I'm pretty sure he was looking at Obama when he drew Tom because there was a lot of similarities between the two characters from how the characters look anyway. Maybe not the characters, their behavior, but absolutely from the characters looking, how the characters look. And I think the Boondocks started in '98 or something like that. Darren Mosley had to take a break up from the internet after learning I had to take a break from the internet after hearing Donald Trump was giving neck to Bill Clinton. Yeah, when people start saying stuff like that, that's when you know you're online too much. Like stuff like that, I realize they just being salacious. So I really don't pay that stuff no attention. I was just kind of like, that sounds like something somebody fantasized, and that's very bizarre. Very bizarre shit. uh, of course, I clearly wasn't there. I don't know whether it happened or not, but I don't see how it's relevant at all to the discussion of, we're calling the president a pedophile, and then you say, oh, well, he's gay. Was he? The whole thing about him being a pedo didn't stick, so now he's gay. All right, whatever. Oh shit! Whoa, Petey Williams got sacrificed on the barbecue for this one. He cooked him. Petey Williams always was a guy who was missing something. He was always missing something. He said they were known for their anti-police material. Yeah, well, no doubt about that. I just still don't understand how he's touring with a band with no hits. A bunch of people made anti-police material, but he has no hits. Let's see how he's touring with the band. Tom fought the booty warrior. I'm not sure Obama's gonna put up a fight. Oh shit. Oh boy. Good old Barack. Jesus Christ. He said you always heard from Gen X guys in their 40s and 50s that MTV was better before TRL. I didn't experience it, so I can't comment. It was better before TRL. TRL just basically put all the pop shit at the top, like Hanson and Britney Spears and all that. And that was part of the problem because it was like Avril Lavigne all the time and stuff like that. But that was the real issue with TRL, is that it really leaned heavily on the pop shit. That wasn't fun. Like all MTV stuff before TRL was videos, and it would have like blocks. But it was always a mishmash of stuff. They didn't play enough rap for my liking because I was big into rap at the time. But at the same time, I went to MTV because I wanted to see something other than rap. So, but TRL was like 99% Britney Spears and Hanson, and that level of material. Chris, what is that? How about call it? I was about to say Christina Applegate. Uh, Christina, whatever her last name was. Like those people were on there all day, every day because of TRL. But other than that, there was like really, really good videos on MTV. It was fun. You could always find something unique they were playing. They were always playing something. And they sometimes played foreign stuff too. Not often, but sometimes. Like a lot of Red Hot Chili Peppers and stuff like that. New metal was my gateway to metal music. I never really could tell the difference between rock music. Like I know what psychedelic rock is because that's what I listen to mostly. But like metal and new metal and grunge, like I know what Nirvana is. I love Nirvana. I know that's technically the grunge, but I couldn't tell you anything else. And I like some of the hair bands, but most of the stuff I like is like blues tinged rock music, like AC/DC and Led Zeppelin to a little degree. Aguilera, that was her name. There was this whole thing about which one was better, Christina Aguilera or Britney Spears. And Britney Spears was like a runaway success because she was pedo bait. And you see where that got her. This is the main event. Disturbing. Kesha, Lady Gaga, Taylor Swift was annoying as a kid. I didn't listen to none of that stuff. Taylor Swift can't sing or dance. I don't understand how she's so successful. I don't even ask her questions anymore. I don't care. And I really didn't understand it until that one day I was downtown. I was going to the comic book store and I saw a bunch of white girls wearing cowboy boots. And I was like, what is going on down here? And it was like a stream of white girls. Like, I've never seen as many white people in Detroit ever, even downtown. And I looked it up and it was a Taylor Swift concert. And I was like, oh my God. She's super popular. And I think she had filled up Ford Field, like 100,000 seats or something like that. Like, God damn. I've never heard a single Taylor Swift song. That's how I felt when somebody told me that NBA YoungBoy was one of the most popular and successful rappers of all time. I was like, who? NBA YoungBoy. Who? He got like 42 platinum singles. I'm like, what? Who the fuck is he? And then I saw a picture of him and I was like, I've seen this dude before. And I know the young dudes listening to him, but I didn't know he was that successful like that. What the hell? When did that happen? That's when I knew I was out of touch. I do got like several, like, there used to be a time where if you had a platinum single, everybody knew that fucking song. That's not even true anymore. These guys would have, like, even when it comes to pop songs, like, people used to know Hanson and Britney Spears and all that kind of stuff. Nobody know this shit anymore. Timestamp 2 hours 30 seconds. 2 hours 30 minutes 12 seconds. 25 more minutes left in the show. And I hope this match ain't about to be 30 minutes. Darren Miles says, to me, MTV lost their way when they canceled all those damn animated shows like Beavis and Butthead. Ice took off, Air Bully, Beat Down, constantly played ridiculousness. Well, that clearly is what killed MTV, is when they started having their own product and they replaced music videos with those stupid stunt shows like Bam Margera and Jackass, and the Rob guy had like 2 shows on MTV. That clearly didn't do a good job. Like MTV, I loved MTV because it was different. Their animated shows never lasted that long anyway. Like Beavis and Butthead was probably the longest running animated program they had on MTV. But other shows like I think, didn't they have one called College Hill? And they had another one that I really liked too, and I forget what it was called. But those shows got canceled pretty quickly. They were like 1 year, 2 years. But Aeon Flux, I bought that on DVD. I liked Aeon Flux. It didn't have a structured story like that, but I did like Aeon Flux, and I didn't mind the movie either. I thought the movie was okay. But that stuff getting canceled really kind of sucked, if we're being honest. That wasn't fun. But MTV, I liked when it was, they did a lot of eclectic things. But most people just wanted MTV to be nothing but music videos, which, is okay. But then when they started doing their own shows, I was okay with that too. But then they started doing those stupid stunt shows, and it was real. I love the Real World. I was knee deep in the Real World, dog. I'm part to blame of the reality TV thing getting blown up, because I was watching the Real World. I wasn't watching Road Rules, but I was watching Real World. I was watching every season. I was all in on Real World. I'm also partly to blame for some of those VH1 shows getting popular, but they started getting dumber and dumber over time, and Real World got dumber and dumber over time. and then so did some of those VH1 shows. But I wasn't watching Flavor of Love. I was peeking in every once in a while on Flavor of Love, but I wasn't really watching it. Once, like me and my girlfriend used to watch the couple shows on VH1, so I'm partly to blame for some of the success for these shows. But that's when everybody started to suffer. They started doing those really dumb TV shows. MTV Downtown should have had more seasons. MTV canceled stuff too quick. They would cancel things super quick. If Jarrett and Triple H get it off the mud without nepotism, who would have had a successful career? Well, Triple H, because Triple H didn't get the nepotism until the late 90s. Jarrett probably wouldn't even got into the business without his daddy. And I don't think Jarrett would have gotten this. Well, Jarrett got pretty far. He got into business because of his daddy. He became world champion and the main event guy because of Vince Russo. And without his daddy, he wouldn't have been able to start TNA. So it had certainly been Triple H. He would have got further. Because even if Triple H didn't become like the Reign of Terror guy, he probably still would have won the world title because he had friends in the office. So he probably still would have, been a top guy. But Jarrett, without his daddy, he's not in the business. And without his daddy, he's not in TNA. Vince Russo helped him tremendously when he went to WCW. But at that point, he was basically just a mid-carder. And it was Vince Russo who pushed him to the main event. But he's a textbook guy who never should have been the centerpiece of a wrestling company and ended up being the centerpiece of a wrestling company. He is the epitome of that. He's worse than Triple H in my book. Even though Triple H ran me off of wrestling, Jarrett is a lesser talent. Even though I think Jeff Jarrett's kind of fun and kind of funny. Even though I suggest that he probably should have been pushed in WWE in the 90s, in the early 90s, as opponent for like Shawn and Brett and stuff. He'd have been perfect. But I don't think that Jeff Jarrett should have been what he ended up becoming. I think they overpushed him. He was certainly overexposed. To be fair, Jersey Shore was popular in the 2010s. It pretty much gave MTV ratings. The Snooki phenomenon from 2010 to 2012 was so annoying, it wasn't for me. I wasn't watching those shows. I never watched Jersey Shore. I heard a lot about it, but I didn't watch it. But yeah, people was obsessed with her and Jersey Shore cast in general, and I didn't get it. I really didn't understand why they were so popular. They seem to be doofuses, and it came along with like Kim Kardashian and Paris Hilton, and I just didn't get why the famous people were famous. And I started learning that our famous people were less than the famous people prior. There was not too many famous bums in the past, people who didn't do anything of note. They weren't singers or actresses or anything like that. They were just famous for being famous or famous because of their antics. And once I figured that out, I was like, man, our famous people suck. Gail Kim, the OG Oxford study right at home. The legend, Gail Kim. Generation Sharingan, I could care less about NBA Youngboy, whatever his name is. I'm in his age group. I honestly did not know that dude was so famous. I didn't have no idea. I didn't even know where he was from until I think recently, where they were talking about him having a falling out with Master P. And I'm like, why is he even talking to Master P? Turns out he's from New Orleans. I was like, what? And they were saying, like, I think I may have saw a clip that says, like, who's the most famous rapper from New Orleans? I was like, that's obvious. The answer is Lil Wayne. And then people were like, oh, it's NBA Youngboy. Look at all his stuff. That's when I found out about all his stats and everything. And I was like, what? Who? Like, what the hell? Like it shouldn't have been a question of it being Lil. It's still Lil Wayne, even if you take into account all this stuff this NBA YoungBoy allegedly did in the streaming era. He's like 42 times platinum in the streaming era. How? And Snoop Dogg can't make any money off of it. How the fuck is NBA YoungBoy making any money off of it? I don't know. But in any event, it was weird that people was even questioning that, given that Lil Wayne had been one of the most famous rappers for a decade. And now I see that, a lot of people starting to wake up and get woke on Lil Wayne. And a lot of it has to do with his politics, with him not caring about racism and all that kind of stuff. I'm pretty sure that has a lot to do with it. He said the best episode of Jersey Shore is when Snooki got punched in the face. Top Dog says every time I think of Snooki and Jersey Shore crew, I think of 2000s and 2010s trashy girl look with the side bang and boot cut jeans. I didn't get the show. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand, like, in order for me to really get into something, I have to understand it, and it didn't make sense to me, and it didn't really jive with what I was into. And that's why I also kind of realized that sometimes TV can be trash. I had watched a lot of trash TV in my youth, watching Ricky Lake and Jerry Springer when I should have been in school. But I didn't really get that TV was trash until like I was like 17, 18. I was like, I'd rather play video games than watch this. And then I started saying that everybody started watching trash TV. Junior and Sharingan said they missed out on the MTV era. Did watch a little bit of MTV Cribs, Wildin' Out, and Punk'd. Punk'd was fun when it first started. And MTV Cribs was always fun. Then I found out it was fake. I still didn't care. It was still fun. Same thing with Fix My Ride, also phony, but also fun. People like today are like, we're going to expose Pimp My Ride. I'm like, come on. You on your YouTube channel going to expose a show that ain't been on the air in 20 years? Or you going to expose MTV Cribs? That shit ain't been around since like 2006. Expose some shit that's going on right now. And plus, once I realized, like, reality TV is not reality anyway. It's all bullshit. You got that little ass fan right there, just in case it get hot in this building. Oh shit! I stopped talking. I completely forgot. Oh no! Not the cheese grater. Ugh. You see, now we got 12 versions of Loving Hip Hop. What's kicking my ass is all the baddie shows. They got Baddies Africa, Baddies Miami, Baddies Nebraska. And it's all just the same trash. Women, fat black women, fake hair, fake nails, fake everything, arguing about men, talking about their music careers that they don't have. How you have a music career? I've never heard you sing anything, rap anything, do anything, produce anything. It's just disgusting. The fact that TNA thought Rhino was the main event guy is a joke to me. And that's one of the things that always makes me laugh is that TNA would take these guys like Rhino and they would decide, oh, Rhino is going to be one of our top guys. Why? What about Rhino tells you that he's a top main event guy? When has that ever occurred? Oh, he's an ECW world champion. When it went out of business, it went out of business. Look, he looks more like a main event guy here than he does, obviously later on. But Rhino is another definition of a mid card guy. If he'd learned how to talk or something like that, then maybe. Or if he was like a big dude who was like intimidating or something like that, that would have been fine. But he's like 5'8". Yeah, he was in decent shape. But he's like 5'8". Was I a fan of Wild 'N Out? No, I never watched it. I kind of grew out of MTV, and I think that was part of the plan. That they wanted people to grow out of it. They used to have the VJs age out at like 25, and then they kind of loosened up on that in later times. But they they would only want a young audience, so they would court a young audience on purpose. And once I hit like a certain age, oh my God, he just got powerbombed on the floor. Jesus Christ, who moved the table? Somebody don't care about him. But it's like they did that on purpose. They kind of forced people out at like 24, 25 or whatever. So that means like 2000, 2005 or 6. I was kind of too old to be watching MTV. Even though I was only like 21 or 22. There was almost nothing on MTV for me to watch. Except music videos. Because MTV started getting younger and younger and younger. First, it looked like it might have been for the early to mid 20s. And that was the target audience for a long time for MTV, especially at night. And then it kept getting younger and younger. Then you realize that MTV is for like 15-year-olds. You love Spike TV. I love Deadliest Warrior, one of my favorite shows, and they got rid of it. One of the most masculine shows ever put together was Deadliest Warrior. I don't even know where you can watch that today. I like Archer too. Archer rules. It's on FX though. The original Spike TV was fun when they started having the animated TV shows like Barbed Wire, Stripperella. No, it was Stripperella. That's what it was. And it was the cat show where it was like Kelsey Grammer was a talking cat or something like that. Before WWE got on the show on the platform. Wasn't a big fan of WWE Spike era. And honestly, to be quite honest, there's a lot of stuff from that era I haven't even gone back and watched. Like a lot of the Raws and a lot of the Raws from that era, I haven't even gone back and watched them. I just don't care about the Spike era of WWE. The beautiful people in the Spike TV era helped me, a young me, with puberty. They were the biggest draws in TNA, despite the fact that people talking about how the Divas era was killing WWE. The biggest draws in TNA was women in short skirts bending over in front of the camera. This is allegedly jacked Devon here. He's in some of the best shape he's ever been in. He's oily and everything too, so he's really proud of himself at this point. And Bubba Ray is the deadliest fat. Bubba Ray is permanently fat. He's got fat boy problems. until that short time. I think that 2 or 3 years he was world champion. He was fat before that, and he got fat afterwards. Damn, he took a straight face bump with no protection. Why would he do that? He took the shit out of that bump. Oh, somebody yanked the referee out. Top Dog says the Food and Travel Network in 09, 2010 was really good. I love the early seasons of Man versus Food with that guy named Adam. You know what? Food is, I said this before, undefeated. There's no bad era of the Food Network. Even when they show 10 hours of diners, drive-ins, and dives, Food Network is undefeated. Undefeated. When I was a kid, I was obsessed with Iron Chef. I wanted to be an Iron Chef. All right. And then even today, I find myself, if Chopped is on, I'm watching it. It's that simple. If Chopped is on, I'm watching it. I love Chopped. It's the best game show ever made. It's a phenomenal show. I love Chopped. It wasn't that long ago where I used to watch Chopped in 4-hour blocks. Beat Bobby Flay, love that show. Like, even though I think it was fixed, I love that show. Because Bobby Flay would chef up some bullshit and still win. You like, hell no. We'd be like, it's the flavors. I'm like, nah, Bobby Flay, get out of here. Get out of here, Bobby Flay. The Food Network is undefeated. Undefeated. Nobody can defeat. There's nothing on television better than Food Network. Even when they having down periods, like they had those boring housewives, or those pretentious middle class housewives that are making garlic aiolis and all that kind of stuff. They're chopping up sourdough bread and making dips or charcuterie boards and all that. It's still more entertaining than most other things. There's so many barefoot contestants and stuff like that on there. Okay, so they won. What do they get for winning? What does it matter if they won? Why would you book a 6-man tag as the main event for a pay-per-view? I don't know. TNA did it though. They did a 6-man tag main event for a pay-per-view. The Comedy Central was good around that time too. Had a show called Tosh.0. Would get canceled by SJWs today. I remember Tosh.0, but I don't remember none of the skits or anything like that. I don't remember it being especially offensive. But I do remember the show being on the air. He was going to hit this guy with the already used guitar. What was that going to do? He threw a table out of the ring to get another table just to do this. And Jared is begging off. Devon looking like Terry Crews. He'll never be that skinny. What is this? What is this guy doing? Oh, I didn't notice Gail Kim was out here. Unless I forgot she was out there. I think I may have mentioned her earlier. Makes sense. She's got Scott D'Amore's girl. The only girl Scott D'Amore likes is Gail Kim. He said it could get offensive out there, especially early in the run. That's why it got toned down towards the end. I don't remember much about the show, if I'm being honest. But I did like Comedy Central. Christian came out in his entrance jacket. Oh wow. What's he been doing all night? So in case this is the last stream, how bad did Trump ruin his term with the Epstein stuff? He really fucked up. The Epstein stuff is pretty bad. If he's not in the Epstein files, he should have. It made Pam Bondi look like a fucking idiot. You know what I'm saying? Because she said, "Oh, I got it on my desk." This was like almost a year ago, and it was like, "Oh, it was on my desk," and then she gave all those people those empty binders, and then that was an embarrassment. I got it on my desk. Then they started talking about the email started to come out, and then they would put out more emails. And Trump is just mentioned in the emails. He's not a part of any conversation. And it's clear if you follow the emails that Epstein is trying to sabotage Trump. So you can't really trust anything that Epstein says because, for starters, he's a pedophile. Secondly, he was under a federal investigation and knew it. And third, anything that he says about Trump is in spite of Trump. And instead of letting that shit go down, and he tried to protect everybody, and I don't understand what the point of that was. So he definitely. Oh, TNA's show is over. Sorry. Christian is what team TNA? Huh? Who would have thought? Anyway, it's bizarre that he would go through that, but also the issues with the 50-year mortgages was stupid. That was an unforced error. The tariffs have been an unforced error. There's a lot of things that he really screwed up with. The Epstein stuff, unless he's in it, there's not much you could do. He just should not have dragged his feet and letting it out. Um, but the Epstein stuff, just being involved with it. But the thing is, we already knew he know the guy. You know, he never denied knowing Epstein. You know, he always said that he separated from Epstein for a while, and we don't know what extent the two of them knew each other. So that's going to be the big question: is when is he going to are we going to find out that he was still in conversation with Epstein and all that stuff after 2009, which I think they said is when he said he kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago and they weren't friends anymore or something like that. But again, when you're talking about a guy like Jeffrey Epstein who had so many wealthy friends, a lot of those guys ran in the same circles. So it stands to reason that Epstein's friends are Trump's friends and Trump's friends are Epstein's friends, and they probably knew the same people. And that's why Trump was, dragging his feet on it, is because, he knows people that are going to be on the list. And I think Thomas Massey said, "Oh, your donors are probably on there." And it's true. I've been saying that the whole time. It's the donors are probably on that damn list. And that's why he didn't want to put it out there, because he probably knows a lot of people on the list, even if he's not on it himself. And he ran on releasing the Epstein list, and now they're going to release the Epstein list, but now they're going to redact everything. So they're going to redact names, which is defeats the fucking purpose of putting it out there. But they did the same thing with Martin Luther King and all that kind of stuff. They're releasing all these files, JFK, but they're not going to unredact everything. So it's just going to be another slew of things. I feel bad for people like somebody like Whitney Webb who wrote like 2 or 3 books on Epstein, and now they're going to put all this stuff out. So now everybody who's done a bunch of videos and shit talking about inside of Epstein, now we got to do all this stuff all over again because you didn't have his emails when you wrote that book. You didn't have any of the files when you wrote those books. Now you got to go. Now all your stuff is pointless because it was all before the files came out. So there might be like a 3rd volume to Whitney Webb's book. She's kind of psychotic though. But was Epstein a part of intelligence agencies? It's like it seems obvious to me. Why these people are fraternizing with a guy with no skills? The guy had no regular job and no skills. Clearly, he was intelligence. You know what I'm saying? Like clearly, somebody was giving him money to be in the room. But Trump really fucked himself up with that. But it's also a bunch of other stuff. Kitchen table issues. With the tariffs, and he went back and he exempted food from tariffs to try to get the food prices down. It doesn't do shit for housing though, which is still a problem. And then he did the 50-year mortgages. That was the idea. Apparently he's going to back off of that, which means that he's listening to people yell at him. So that's good. But now he's shilling H-1Bs and he's getting yelled at about that. He ain't going to back off of that because that's an indictment on our education system. Our education system is so degraded that we can't, like Ford is complaining, was it GM's, one of the two, that they can't fill engineering spots without H-1Bs. They need them. We don't produce enough engineers. Where are our kids going? Our kids are going to school and getting degrees in feminism and liberation theology that's you have to go to like a seminary to get that. But our kids are going to school to learn bullshit, and they could complain about how the Indians cheat and the Chinese cheat, but it's like 100,000 of these people, and they can say, "Oh, the white kids aren't getting the same opportunities." Well, maybe that's the case, but the trades need workers, and they can't find them, and we need highly skilled workers, and we can't find them. We just don't have enough. So we do need H-1Bs, and that's the thing that got Elon Musk and Vivek in trouble, is saying that there's not enough Americans to do it. But we degraded our education system. Our education system sucks. There's people who are graduating who can't read. And it used to be that people are graduating from high school and they can't read. Now people are graduating from college and they can't read. So it is what it is. But that's the stuff that's really going to fuck with Trump. He's got 3 more years to fix it. Some of that stuff he's not going to be able to turn around. Even if he dissolves the Department of Education, he's not going to be able to fix it. He's going to have to probably do some kind of. But actually, the companies need to take on the responsibility of educating the people that they need. And that's how it should have been in the first place. Instead of the government funding scholarships for people who want to be engineers, these companies need to fund scholarships for people who want to be engineers. And that way, those people will feel indebted to the company. That's what it should have been from the first place. The company wants you to do something and you apply and then you go to school for it, and then you'll have a job waiting for you on the other side. You'll probably have to work that money off, but you're going to work there anyway, right? That should have been the plan, is, maybe they recruit people who are already engineering students, and then they give them, a stipend to stay in school and or pay something towards their diploma. That's what it should have been. It never should have been the government. The government got into it, and the students went off and did bullshit. Now they're professional protesters. There's some of this stuff you can't fix it. You can't outvote these things. You can't vote out retards, and that's in the populace. How do you you can't outvote the retards? There's too many of them. No, the crazy thing is a lot of people have useless degrees. They have useless degrees. So there is they have useless degrees. They don't have professional degrees that anybody can use. And they also are actually not smart enough to be in the trades. And they don't have the passion either. Like there's a whole lot of stuff that goes into it. People refuse to leave their, like Ben Shapiro got into some issues because he said that if you can't afford to live in New York, you need to leave, which is common fucking sense. It's just common sense policy. Get out of town if you can't afford to live here. People took a blood and soil argument. They should live and die in New York. All right, whatever. What are you going to do in New York that's going to be able to pay for what you need? Well, the government's supposed to figure it out. No, you the one that want to live there. You have to figure out how you're going to live. You could go to Arkansas or Nebraska or something and get a decent job, and they probably do have tons of openings there, but you don't want to follow the work. And I say, like, look, my granddad left the South to come up here to work for Ford or GM, one or the other. I forget which one. And he worked there his whole life. He only had a sixth grade education. He had to leave his entire family out of the South. That's how, that's the American way of life. Yeah, I understand that if your granddad worked in the steel mill, you think you deserve to work in the steel mill too. That's not how it works anymore. That job is gone. You might have to move from your nice city to a smaller town or to a different city where you can utilize your skills and education better. And that's part of the problem too, is that you'll have a bunch of people who have mediocre educations and you dump them into one town. There's only so many jobs for those people, and now people won't leave. So people just sit around, wait for a job, or they're underemployed, meaning that they make less money than they should for the education level that they have. So people with master's degrees are making pitiful money because they refuse to leave. You probably make more money if you go to Tennessee or Kentucky or something like that, but you won't leave. And they don't want to hear that. And so some people could fix their problems if they wanted to, but they don't want to. They're allergic to the right response, so they're never going to get it. And that's part of the problem too. They want Trump to fix it. They want Trump to fix it. He's not, your fairy godmother. He can't fix all your problems. Some of these problems you're going to have to fix yourself. And you can't just be like, I'm going to go full Nazi unless you pay for everything for me. Who cares? Get bent, you losers. You're a loser. Like, I think about leaving Detroit all the time. I really do. And if I knew somewhere to go, I probably would go. But now my parents are getting older. And like I said, my girl is sick. If worse comes to worse, your boy's heading out west somewhere, I guess. I just don't see the point in sitting here. You like the Cleveland show? I never watched. I never liked Family Guy. I like American Dad though. It's pretty funny. Why people act like Trump is guilty when the victim's lawyer said Trump helped him, and the Democrats called it an anti-Semitic conspiracy theory. because they don't care about the truth. The truth is irrelevant, and that's why Trump made the mistake of fighting them on it. The truth is irrelevant. They don't care whether he touched kids or not. Every time they pull up a new email, there's some new Democrat's name in there, and they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about Larry Summers or that black chick that Epstein was giving questions to. They don't care about none of that stuff. They don't care about none of that. They trying to get Trump. That's what the focus is. The focus ain't on none of them Democrats whose names come up. They don't care. It's all about trying to find Trump in there somewhere. And if they're like, oh, he gave head to Bill Clinton. Okay. I'm not saying whether it did happen or didn't happen, just that ain't pedophilia. Okay. You called him a pedophile and a rapist. Prove that. I'm sure Bill Clinton could have protected himself if, Donald Trump wanted to give him a mouth hug. But, you said that he was having sex with underage girls with Jeffrey Epstein. Where's that information? You're not going to distract me talking about how Trump is gay. I don't care about that. You're not gonna move me from this rock. You said he was a pedophile. Let's see that. Where is that? Because if you lied about that, then I don't care about this whole Bill Clinton thing anyway. I'm just gonna assume that's a lie too. So let's go with the more serious accusation that he's a pedophile. Once you prove that, then we could talk about whether he's a gay pedophile too. But we haven't gotten that far. He said, honestly, Clinton sending a lot of our jobs overseas in the 90s has contributed to a lot of this mess. The jobs were leaving anyway. I know a lot of people don't like that, but I'm a libertarian. I believe in free markets. The cost of jobs in the United States was ridiculous. It wasn't just NAFTA. NAFTA was part of the problem, yes. It was a big part of the problem. But the unions, they drove up the cost of labor so much. The unions, the Democrats with their fucking fetish over minimum wage. This is why people can't find jobs. This is why unskilled people can't find jobs. Skilled people can't find jobs because they won't leave, right? And they're competing with the rest of the country and they're competing with the rest of the world. So that's where the H-1Bs and all that kind of stuff comes in as a problem that you need to discuss. The illegal immigrants and all that, they're taking the jobs under the table, probably being paid in cash because they don't form unions and they don't apply to like minimum wages and shit. Like, so that's your problem. Your immigration problem is two-pronged. It's at the top in the middle class and it's at the bottom. And everybody knows this. It's not like I'm breaking any new ground here. But people don't understand why it's like this. It's like this because our education system is trash. So now we probably need the H-1Bs to train some people. That's the fucked up thing. And then the people at the bottom, we have to change our whole legal system. We have to get rid of the minimum wage. We have to get rid of unions. We'd have to change our housing policy all over the country. And they're making housing even worse in places like New York and California, so forget it. And they're raising property taxes in Chicago. Brandon Johnson is raising property taxes in Chicago, and they're going to raise property taxes here in Detroit too. And they're doing the stupid climate shit. Like they're going to run everybody out of these cities. Eventually, you're either going to get up and leave on your own, or you're going to be a tree and plant yourself in your neighborhood, and you're going to watch the world change around you, one or the other. But a lot of this is happening because a part of it is because Republicans don't fight in the city, which means they don't argue with taxes and property taxes and income taxes, and these people just jack that stuff up, up, and it's hard for unqualified, well, I shouldn't say unqualified, unskilled people to find jobs in an economy that is filled with minimum wage laws because the only people who can afford it are people with money. And it also destroys individuals who are trying to start new businesses, because if you're trying to do the right thing, you're stuck to be bound by the state or federal minimum wage law. Unless you got money to cover that, it's not going to work. So even if somebody wanted to start a business, they probably couldn't afford to pay people the minimum wage, and then the job might not even be necessary for minimum wage. You know, so but that's the biggest issue is the legal system. The legal system is trash. The legal system and the education system are so degraded, so bad off. It's manufacturing unemployment. And then when you have the SNAP benefits being as generous as they are, and there's no end to it, like there's almost no upper limit on this SNAP stuff, you're incentivizing people to stay at home. Why work? People pay taxes when they work. You don't pay no taxes when you get SNAP. So why work? So I mean, so that's the sort of the three-pronged attack on the economy. You're paying people to be couch potatoes. You're paying to bring people from foreign countries into your country to do work because you don't have an educated populace who can do it. And you're smuggling in a bunch of other people so the employers don't have to pay your minimum wages and don't have to deal with the unions. And what ends up happening is these people end up basically being slaves. And that's kind of true too for the H-1Bs, that they kind of handcuffed to the company that bring them in. So, and illegals are also handcuffed to their employers. So when you look at this stuff, man, as long as you keep lying to yourself of what the causes are, you're never gonna get the right answer. You gotta play hardball. He's gonna have to stand up and say, look, at least the minimum wage gotta go. Maybe you can avoid taking on the unions, but the minimum wage gotta go, especially on a national. You're going to ban them, like nationally. Just ban the fucking minimum wage, and then we won't need cross the border illegal immigration. We wouldn't need that. Just ban the minimum wage nationally, and you'll probably help more people doing that than you will with your fucking tariffs. I can almost guarantee it. Especially people who are barely literate, if they can work unsupervised, they'll be better off in a world without a minimum wage. Because then they'll find a job mopping floors, taking out trash, being security guards or whatever. It'll be easier for them, you know. And then people need to learn responsibility sometimes. That's all it is. And it's much better for your young people, you because young people don't have a lot of education because they're still in school or they're considering going to school, and they don't have a lot of skills because they've never done anything before. They don't have no responsibilities. So if you're a 16, 17, baby's first job, you don't need to make like $18 an hour. What for? You're just learning how to work. You're barely learning how to come to work on time. So you can really fix the economy. You just got to be an asshole about it. And Trump he wants to make everybody happy, and that's not going to work. And somebody like me would never win anyway, because as soon as I say, yeah, fuck the unions, I'm done for. Especially in Michigan, I'm cooked. He said recommendations: San Diego, Dallas, Raleigh, maybe Florida. I'm not so sure about Texas. Texas, they're starting to have a huge influx of fucking Muslims. There's something going on in Texas. I would wait a little bit, especially in Houston, Dallas. I would keep my eye on what's going on over there. Florida, absolutely. Florida would be great. San Diego, that's California. You're fucked. Raleigh, that's North Carolina. You should be fine. North Carolina is kind of on the fence. I know they're having a lot of illegal problems in North Carolina. We do need to fix Chinese spies sleeping with mid-white dudes in China buying real estate and farms in the U.S. We need to ban that. And I am. It's crazy because I'm for free market responses to things, but I do realize that multinational corporations and foreign governments buying up farmland, that's a national security threat. And so is them buying up single family homes. That's also a national security threat. So they need to be banned. Like foreign companies should be banned from owning. And what they would do is they just find a shell buyer. I mean, that's the thing. So you can't just like, we're going to ban it because then they find Ching Chong, who was born in San Francisco, but his parents came from China, and he'll start a company and they'll be like, oh, it's an American company and I was born in San Francisco. My parents were immigrants. And he'd be like a foreign fucking Chinese spy and he'd buy a bunch of fucking buildings. So it's not like a foolproof plan, but I would definitely find some measure of government force to unlock, China owning a bunch of farmland. Also, I would do something about all of these paid protesters. And that's on both sides. That's people who are being paid to shield for Israel and people who are being paid to shield for Palestine and all of those guys. I would absolutely do something about that. I'm not sure what you can do because I mean it's free speech, but maybe force these people to admit on like a website or something like that they're a paid protester, or force the companies, especially if it's a nonprofit, to admit that they paid protesters. And people need to go and stop believing that these things are legitimate. And I noticed that a lot of that anti-Israel stuff is likely coming from people who are being paid by like CAIR, CAIR, the Council of American Islamic Relations, I think it's called. That's basically like a foreign lobbyist group, just like APAC is. They might be Americans, quote unquote, but they lobby on behalf of Muslim populations. And a lot of these Muslim populations, and they might get money from the Saudis or the Qataris or something like that, or hell, maybe even Iran or Yemen or something. No, you can't have people paying your college students to protest, and or paying your fucking podcasters or people um with profiles online to shield for Muslim terrorists or greedy Jews or anything like that. You can't have this. It again goes back to what I said in my previous video. We need to do something about these liars and these deceivers. There needs to be something done. I'm not sure what. And I haven't figured that part out. Um, Again, even if it means that they need to post a list of people that they paid and that they paid their bail, they paid for their education or some way or something, because the amount of people shilling for Muslims online has increased a lot lately, a whole lot, and it's unnatural. There's an unnatural amount of people shilling for Muslims, and people think that it's weird that people are shilling for Israel. Like, you don't think it's weird that people are shilling for Palestine? I think it's weird that people care so much about a foreign country in either direction, you know? So it was we gotta do something. I'm not sure what. But yeah, absolutely. BlackRock, Vanguard, China, everybody buying up farmlands or single family homes. No. Nah, we need to stop that. I'm not sure how you do it. Um, but you do need to stop it. Absolutely. Because that's causing part of our housing problem. And we need to get up to, I mean, the H-1Bs are the spies. That's the Chinese spies. but they're absolutely, it's worse than them sleeping with mid-white dudes in college. They're fucking dudes who are in like state legislatures, you know? They're catching members of Congress and people who are in state legislatures and stuff too. They're jamming them up. The weird thing is there's Chinese spies in the universities, and here in Michigan they caught a bunch of them, like 4 or 5 of them, and they were bringing in like toxic stuff they were probably going to dump in the water supply. And you're like, if they'd have put like an invasive fish in our rivers or something like that, you really could have ruined our food supply. Like that stuff is stuff you really need to pay attention to. And this is why, libertarians kind of get a bad rap because they don't look for stuff like that. And I was like, man, as I sit here and talk about it, I'm like, what the fuck can you do? You have to use the government because if you bring people here and you say free market, and then they start doing stuff to sabotage your economy on purpose, you can't vote that out. You know, if they put some kind of invasive tick species like that makes you allergic to meat in the woods or something like that, and it starts to replicate and it bites a bunch of people, like you can't vote that out. And you can't get rid of that. You have to burn up who knows how much of your forest to get rid of that stuff. Just no way, man. You have to do something. And some problems just need government solutions. You just can't do anything about it. And I think some people are delusional in thinking that you can do something about this without the government. And I'm not one of those people at this point. So while I am for the free market, and free market solutions will work 9 times out of 10, I'm looking at a solution where, a bunch of old ladies, start selling their house and the only people can afford it, the CCP. No, we can't have you selling your house to the Chinese lady. Sorry, we can't do it. Um, Now, some people have said we can set limits to how many people, how many houses an individual can own. But if the foreign country is buying it, they have almost endless money. They can, but that's the point of property taxes. Is also, oh, we're going to force them to pay taxes on the land, and they'll be losing money on the property, and then we'll seize it over time if they don't pay the property tax. Mm, how many generations of people are we talking about being affected here? And then also, it's going to affect the average Joe. So yeah, it might take down Vanguard or BlackRock or somebody who's going to let the property rot, but it's also going to take down the old lady who retired 2 3 years ago and now she can't keep up anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you have to think about that. But something needs to be done. And on the state level, a lot of these states don't have a problem, especially Michigan and California and New York. They don't really care about China, coming in and doing whatever they want. They don't mind because I hate to make it partisan, but Democrats really only care about power. That's really it. If they can get them power, that's really all they care about. They have no values. They don't care about the United States. That's the thing. Like I said it earlier on Twitter, you live in two different countries. You know, you live in a country of the left wing and the country of the right wing, and people are entering these bubbles, and you don't even know the history of your country. Like there's a new uh, documentary series by Ken Burns on the American Revolution. They've been arguing about it all weekend. I mean, all week. And I say like there's two different versions of history. There's the left wing version of history. There's the right wing version of history. You can't even read primary documents and agree on what they say. How can you have a country? It's same thing as the Bible. You got all these different branches of Christianity that sprung from the Bible, like because people believe different things. They read different things into these documents. And so the left has read certain things into these documents, and they've had control over state legislatures and even the national government for many, many years. and they've allowed whatever they want to do to happen as long as they keep them in power and empowers the people that they want. They don't care about selling out to foreign governments. They're globalists anyway. And that's the one thing that separates Democrats from, to a degree. There's a uniparty, but then there's the Republicans who are at least willing to put the brakes on it. The Democrats are willing to sell you out to any foreign government at any point in time, the UN, World Economic Forum, whoever will keep them in power. And ultimately, they're going to fuck something up. They've already ruined California to the point where California and Illinois are bad off, and New York will be shortly to follow, because it's the same thing over and over again. You punish and punish and punish the rich, and then when they leave, you left with no choice but to punish the middle class. It's your only option. You ran your tax base off, so now you have to move down a peg and punish the middle class. It's inevitable. And now they're talking about, I forget where it is. I think it's California. They're talking about taxing your savings account. Tax money when you spend it, tax it when you make it, and tax it when you hold it. And they're going to end up taxing if you have stocks and bonds, and that's the capital gains tax. If you pull money out of your stocks or whatever, you got to pay taxes on that. I mean, it's just nonsense. A tax when you die. Next going to be a birth tax. A tax on every child born. It'll be ridiculous. The state will not stop spending, and they don't want to sell anything. They don't want to share power. So I don't believe in public-private partnerships. But if a government really was like, look, we spending too much money and we care about this sort of stuff, there are certain things that they would turn over to private industry and let them do it, because it'll probably be cheaper and more efficient. But they don't. They want to run things themselves because they want the power and the authority. They want the bureaucrats to be able to pick and control who wins and who loses in society. Because if you don't get to pick who wins and loses, then you get people like Elon Musk who you can't control, who might do something rash like buy Twitter at a loss just to run it the way he wants to run it. Like that sort of stuff is why they do things. Because power matters more than policy, money, gays, lesbians, blacks, whites. None of that stuff matters more than power. You see the guy in Minnesota, right? He said he played tribal politics with those Somalians in order to win the election. He went up there, learned their language and everything, because it don't matter. All he cares about is power. He don't give a fuck about those people. He just didn't want to. He wanted to be mayor again. At the end of the day, he didn't care. He went and learned their language just to manipulate them, and they were dumb, so because they're Somalians. So that's good. All right. Thank you guys for your time and your appreciation. I'm gonna try to get another live stream in at some point this weekend. The StreamYard will probably, I think they said it's gonna run until the 6th of December. I may try to do another stream before then. Then we'll probably be on hiatus for, I don't know, until I get some money. Then we'll be back in action. But this will probably be the last watch along for a while. I'm gonna try to sneak in one more Q&A before we wrap this thing up. But thank you guys for your time, man. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.